Oh, so do you want me to intro it? Like every
No,
time?
I mean, we can all just kind of...
Is it the thing that's decided on that I'm going to intro it every time? Because I thought this was an equal partnership.
I'll intro.
Yeah, go ahead and intro this then.
Okay. All right. Hello. We are at Crosscut Cinema. My name is Madison.
I'm Logan.
I'm Frani.
I'm Bree.
So, we saw some movies.
We did see
recently.
some movies.
We
saw lots of
movies.
movies.
Oh, we did, yeah.
I've
seen, especially me. I've been seeing like Waves and Richard. I've been doing double. I'm currently unemployed. Unless you want to call this.
So let's get it right out there.
Yes, I mean, so I don't know if you want to call this a job, but if so, I've been working overtime. Okay, because I saw Waves, I saw Richard Jewell, I Lost My Body, I watched Klaus. We're gonna cover a lot of those, but today we're covering
Marriage Story
and Honey Boy, which is oddly a lot of people's favorite in this room, as well as there's a lot of contention. So I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of contention and a lot of favorites about both of these. I think we all have some strong feelings about them. So who are we? Logan and I watch a lot of movies. We know a lot about movies. Bridget is my girlfriend. Hi.
Franny is my fiance.
Hi.
Checkmate.
Who really isn't as big into movies as everybody else in the room.
It should be noted there's two laymen's. That's not a negative term.
No, I think right.
I feel like Bree's somewhere in the middle.
I think when we were talking about Marriage Story.
She only sees the middle of the film because she always falls asleep halfway through.
Correct.
Shut up.
I always miss the beginning and middle.
Oh, that's right. She misses.
Yeah, right. She wakes up for the end.
I do.
She's seen Reservoir Dogs, but not really, and she's seen Dogma, but not really.
Not really.
Listen,
if it's about dogs, Bridget's fallen asleep during it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really wouldn't go out of my way to watch a movie before Logan. Essentially.
Yeah, when we met, her favorite movies were Twilight.
I mean, that hasn't changed though.
But that's fine.
I support that.
I
don't think that's a bad thing.
But also now, one of your favorite movies is Donnie Darko.
Yeah, you've definitely gotten me more out of my comfort zone when it comes to watching movies, and I feel like I've watched them differently after being with you and hearing your opinions on them. You know?
When we were talking about Marriage Story earlier, before we got here, Bridget said, this isn't the type of movie that she would pick for herself to watch.
What do you mean?
No. I don't know. I was thinking about, what I would watch. And I think, probably thrillers or, horror movies are more my go-to. Because I like scaring myself. And then typically I just go for a show.
And she said, a drama isn't, a drama like Marriage Story is a drama. Isn't something that she
I don't... People call Marriage Story a drama, and it is... But it's almost a love story about people who fucking hate each other. If you haven't seen it, it's kind of interesting. It's like a romance about people who despise one another.
The thing that's funny about this, that comment is, that Bridget and I were talking about this the other day, that, a favorite relationship dynamic in, fiction and cinema specifically, is when it's two people that, either A, love each other so much that they fucking hate each other, or B, hate each other so much that they love each other. Mm-hmm. But I actually, spoiler alert, I didn't like this movie that much.
What?
I didn't think it was that good. Well, spoiler alert for the rest of the fucking podcast when it tells people I don't like the movie.
Yeah, spoiler alert, you're not gonna like it either.
Spoiler alert, you might like it, you might not. I think everybody else on the fucking planet liked it.
I think that the praise it's been getting isn't unfounded, but is pretty intense for the product you get. The score is incredible.
I agree with that. I don't think that's wrong.
And I think that it's kind of interesting because I don't know if he's purposefully mirroring this, but the director is somebody who's in Hollywood and is kind of somebody who's been overlooked in the past, and he's married to somebody who's flying high with Greta, who just directed Lady Bird and directed Little Women. Mm-hmm. They're married, and I don't know if he means to reflect it in the film. But I think that he purposefully, that's him.
Well, that
character.
Well, that and the fact... which character do you feel like is him?
I think he's absolutely Adam Charlie.
Well, yeah, because also he wrote this movie right after he divorced Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yeah, but the difference is the Jennifer Jason Leigh thing. I know that wasn't exactly their dynamic. I know it's, partly based on it. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if it's also him getting out some of the anxiety of like you're with someone successful. Are you going to be a big enough person to be like, okay, I need to step out of the way of what they're doing?
Yeah, I think so.
Or are you going to yuck their yum and be like, oh no, I hate the fact that you're doing well?
Yeah.
Because there's always jealousy in relationships, right? I mean, even if you're totally like so happy for the other person, there's a part of you that's just like,
that's just human nature.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, given who they were in the story as people, that they could have never worked out because they both want to be in the limelight as a constant, and they weren't able to together in the film.
And like I think that there's a lot in the movie about. You quiet.
God.
She's been so mean to her. Oh,
I have not. I'm very nice to
Why
Brie.
did you shut up?
Brie, blink twice if you need help. You guys didn't see it, but she blinked.
She winked with each eye, so I think she's trying to blink
Bridget
twice.
is not a good winker.
Shut up. Why are you calling me out right now?
But I think there's a lot in the movie too about like wanting and knowing what you want and what it means to know what you want. And I think fundamentally when you have a person who knows what they want and a person who doesn't know what they want, then that's like a point of contention as well in any relationship. So like I think that's certainly an aspect of it as well, that like it prevented these people from ever working out.
And the thing is, what I love about this, sorry to interrupt you, I just want to say this one last thing before we get into it. The biggest thing that I really loved about this movie was that it had characters that were both likable and really unlikable. Like really unlikable, but also so relatable. In the sense that neither of them are right. They're both totally wrong.
I didn't find either of them likable, though.
Not even in some situations.
Not really.
Like,
I mean, I think I maybe liked Adam Driver's character, Charlie.
He's a present father, and he very much cares about his son.
I think I liked him more at the beginning, but then as the movie went on, I just liked him less and less. Though I will say that was the character that I related to more. Mm-hmm. And like there were moments when I found myself relating to that character.
I understand, like, the fear of, like, mortality and, like, feeling like you're losing time. And that character, Scarlett Johansson, the whole time was like, this is my last shot. This is my last go at it. I'm going to do it. So I can kind of relate to that because I feel like if I'm not reaching out and trying to do something amazing and then at one point I realize I'm, like, almost 40 or 35 or whatever it is, I'm going to want to make that leap.
And it was something where they were blaming each other for, like, their setbacks, too.
So...
I just didn't relate to that character in the same way. I related to that Adam Driver character heavily. Mm-hmm. Like,
well, yeah, I think we can all kind of fit our place, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's there's a scene later on in the movie where she says to him, like, you don't have the ability to perceive other people's desires, like, that are not yours. And I was like, well, how could he? And then I was like, well, there it is.
There you are.
Well,
there you are.
Well, I'll be gosh darned.
Another thing where we talk about, like, relationships and what relationships mean to other people. For Adam Driver, and I think the way it should be for a lot of people is that he pointed out, you shouldn't be mad at me because I slept with someone else. You should be mad at me because I enjoyed someone else's company, because I had a laugh with someone else. Yeah. And that's, like, the true definition that he cared more about their camaraderie and their speaking relationship and living together than any sort of, like, sexual desire. Yeah. Where I think she has, there's, like, bits of, like, lustfulness in her personality. Where she was hyper obsessed with the fact that he cheated. You know, even though she was trying to make sure she wasn't adultering for, like, her lawyer, she had that one guy finger her in her car. All that stuff just kind of gives off that she has a need to be desired. Right. Whereas Adam Driver's character, I feel like, it wasn't ever about, like, the sexual desire as much as it was, like, he's a little pretentious, but he feels everything deep.
Because he goes into it even.
To be stimulated.
Yeah. And they both cheated on each other. She left her emotional stimuli at the back door. Mm-hmm. She just became like a mother and didn't really care about anything else, which, is a good thing to become a great mother, but she stopped being a great wife. But then he did the thing that she didn't want him to do, and he cheated and physically was with someone and cheated emotionally too. So there's some, but I can relate with Scarlett Johansson because she's like, I gave up everything for you. And she did sacrifice a lot. And that's what makes that character relatable. But you're also like, well, you're fucking ruining his life now. You're an asshole.
Well, the thing about her character too that like kind of was that like what made me dislike her character is that she talks about that it like, you know, she's always done what other people want. And I think I texted you this. I was like, it's not fucking. Let's see if I can find what I said to you.
Yeah, you did. She was texting me the whole time she was watching this movie. I was also, I'm pretty sure I was asleep, so I woke up at like 2 a.m. or like 1 a.m. or something, or maybe I was like texting and then I fell asleep in the middle of it.
Let me see.
But I was just loving her comments because I was like, I knew she was gonna fucking think that. I knew when you went to go watch it because that's kind of like how I perceived it the first time I saw it. Not saying they're gonna change on the second watch, but it was really powerful to watch it with Franny, who, I mean, I don't want to give away anything about your life, but she had things in the film where she could relate to it.
I'm a child of divorce from a very volatile situation.
Holy shit, I know.
And
just kidding.
it was
sorry. Sorry, buddy.
It was kind of weird because like I saw a lot of, I guess, my parents and like some aspects of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like I don't really remember their divorce at all. I was young.
Well, she has a really high regard for her father, and when she saw a really present father who loved being a father, and that was endearing. The fact that he was excited.
I definitely saw a lot of my dad in that
to be a
actor's
dad,
character. Yeah, exactly, and just kind of like the hardships he faced of like dealing with my mother during a divorce and everything, and dealing with being a father. And like watching him get steamrolled by the fact that he is the father, and like watching like him hear again and again that like she's gonna get custody and everything, and like watching like the little shit that like
and the underhandedness of divorce.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The underhandedness that she was pulling that like makes her character a little less redeemable. I don't know. I saw a lot of that related.
Yeah.
So what are you? Okay, so we're gonna step aside from the idea that whether the film is good or bad.
Wait, do you want to hear the text that I sent to you?
Yes, let's see.
I said, like, it is not Adam Driver's fault that you've never made an assertive decision in your life, referring to Scarlett Johansson.
Exactly.
And, like,
Sure, it's not his fault in the sense of her entire life, but he didn't presently want to hear a change. He didn't want to work on that.
And you
have to assert it.
Too.
If you want it, you have to assert it. You
well,
can't just say, maybe
to be fair, she did. She said, I want to move to California. He passed it off like it wasn't a big deal. She said she wanted to have him do this, do that. And then when she started being assertive, you know, maybe she went a little overboard with the store-bought ninja. By the way, that's my favorite meme now, is store-bought ninja. I think that's the greatest thing ever.
Well, like, the thing is, he says...
Nothing. I was just saying, like, he shows a lot of, like, how, like, he doesn't like change. And just, like, the little things he does. Like, when they're, like, about to serve those divorce papers, when he comes in and, like, kisses her instantly, that part.
Yeah, and he hugs
it just shows
her
he's
mother.
a creature of habit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, like, she's somebody that, like, you know, like, kind of like a wanderluster, like, thinks that the grass is always greener on the other side.
And it is fair to say that his life is exponentially better at the beginning of the film. I mean, he's getting a show that's going to Broadway.
Yeah.
You know, he's got, you know... He's about to become single, essentially, which sounds like good in theory. I'm sure he that definitely crosses his mind. He's got a cool kid. Yeah. And, you know, he's a big-time director now. So, when he walks in, he wants things almost to stay status quo.
Yeah.
You know, especially you realize that when the divorce papers come up, he's just now processing, like, oh, this is some real shit. Okay, this is really happening.
Well, and, like, there's like, regarding the LA thing, like, there's a moment when he says, like, one of the lines that I kind of liked best in the movie was when he says it was something we discussed the way that we discussed getting something from behind the couch or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that one shows, like, how kind of trivial he thinks of it as being, but then, like, two, it makes you question how much she asserted that it was something that she wanted.
Yeah.
You know, was it something that she said, it is very, very, very important to me that we move out to LA and I'm not going to be happy?
Well, to be fair, things fell on deaf ears with him.
Right, yeah. And I think that...
And you see that through
when
he goes and talks to the lawyers.
Yeah.
When everybody's telling him, hey, you know, your life's about to change forever. You need to get your shit in gear. He's like, no, like, things are fine. He's dismissive even with the most volatile information. I mean, he was being told by those lawyers, she is going to take everything. and he didn't take it seriously
Which
at all.
they show again,
yeah,
too.
I just felt that he was just naive.
Yeah, which they showed again, too.
but-
They were talking to her lawyer, and they were talking about the LA thing, and she was like, and talking about how they were supposed to move back to, like, New York after this whole thing. And her lawyer says something about, like, how when it's something he wants, it's an agreement, but when it's something she wants, when it's something Nicole wants, it's a conversation.
Yeah.
But I think you can only claim naivety so much when somebody's sitting there telling you, this is going to change your life forever. Ugh. Gosh.
Sorry, I turn up
So, we've sort of done, like, cursory opinions, I guess.
But we haven't, because well, there's one other thing. I wanted to hear what Bridget had to say.
Oh,
but
yeah.
also, I want to just get this platform out real quick first. Now, we all disagree on whether it's a great movie, a good movie, whatever.
Yeah.
But do you agree that there is an important message within the film? Or do you think that this message is also kind of like, whatever? Because for me, I feel like it really resonated with communication. Like, that communication's so important in a relationship. And, there's actually things in my life where I was like, oh, hey, maybe I need to work on that. Like, it shows you kind of the bare bones of people. Do you guys think that it has value in that regard? Or do you still think it's just a work of fiction, maybe a little pretentious? What is your guys' thoughts?
Let's let Bridget go first. Because I'm formulating.
So, I think that the message of communication is important. A lot of people don't communicate.
Yeah, because, I've been hearing from, critics, it's a great movie, but it's overly pretentious with this message. And I'm like, this message rung for me. It was a strong message, and it was a really reflective message.
Yeah. A lot of people need to hear it, but I found it really hard to relate with any of the characters. I didn't have as many characters to relate to, I guess.
So, we were talking about how we kind of saw a bit of ourselves in the other, and them, but you didn't.
I didn't quite get that.
Well, that sounds like you might be the Adam Driver character, then.
I might be. I might just be like...
You might be Adam Driver,
you know.
Because I think that there is elements of selfishness in every relationship on both sides, no matter what people want to hear. And that movie was just that it really perfectly captured that.
Definitely.
Of oh, you think this way, oh, you think that way. And they really had, if you hated the characters, you hated both. If you liked the characters, you liked both. I don't think that someone was trying to build up Adam Driver's character as the good guy, or Scarlett Johansson as the good guy, because sometimes it's not that clean.
I don't know. Do you feel like if you had to nail it down, Bridget, and say the message of this movie was?
I don't know. There were a lot of different things going on, I think, and kind of putting differences aside for your child.
Yeah,
was something I saw. I'm not sure if it was the main message, but kind of
I also
directing.
That just came to my mind. Sorry, but I also saw it really represented maturity in children. Kids aren't as dumb or lucid as people think they are.
Mm-hmm.
This kid knew everything going on.
Yeah.
Hey, let's have 2 different rides at the Jaws thing, or oh hey, I want to spend time with you this weekend. I want to live here. This kid was pretty hyper aware. But whenever there's a divorce portrayed in film, it's always he doesn't understand. He's just angry in the corner. This kid was full accepting. He literally didn't shed a tear.
Which I that because it shows that which another thing that's relatable for me. It shows that a marriage isn't always better if they stay together for the kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It shows that a kid can adjust and they're fine and they are a conscious being and when the lawyers kept talking about how you're not winning or losing, you're doing what's best for your kid, or his one first lawyer, the old man.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Which I really appreciated because a lot of the time it does get kind of turned into winning or losing.
Yeah,
and that's the mentality people have, and it's gross.
And, like, for me, what I took from it was that, like, more than the message about just communication, more, like, for me, like, the message I got from it was, like, sometimes it just doesn't work out.
That's definitely a message within it.
And it was like, you can love a person, but sometimes shit just does not work out. Like,
but it shows that they still love each other,
not,
like, their little actions.
Yeah, like, you just are, like, sometimes you were just not supposed to be with a person, and that's fine.
A really, really funny list on Letterboxd, and it was movies that Scarlett Johansson tied someone's shoes in this year, and it was just Jojo Rabbit, A Marriage Story, and it was the number one list on Letterboxd.
I love that.
I like how it shows, like, her little care for them still. And I think it's an important message, like you're saying, like, the main message we got from it at the point of our lives where me and Logan are in, like, heading into, like, getting married and everything. I feel like this was an important movie to watch, too.
Yeah, one of the first things we talked about right after was just, like, one of the things that people don't even think about when they're getting married or about to get married is you have to have a conversation not only about loving each other, because that's obvious.
Yeah.
But you have to know what each other wants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's something that people skip over because they're so infatuated with one another. They're like, we'll want the same thing always. No,
which isn't the
get
case.
it out there.
Yeah.
There are things that we make sacrifices for with each other.
Exactly, and you don't want to grow to be in a state where you're resenting the other person because they don't know your wants and desires and aren't reaching.
Or because they held you back from getting something.
This film did show, and especially in the Adam Driver character, somebody not communicating that information.
Yeah.
Like, he really didn't care what she wanted in the beginning because his opinion was, oh, she just wants to be with me.
Yeah.
She just wants to be in New York. At every other scene, you want to live in New York. Our life in New York is great, but it's not great for both of them.
Yeah.
And it's not what she always wanted, and they could have talked about that beforehand.
And then, like, he has when he says, when they're having their big fight, like, I'm in my 20s, I could have had all this, I could have been doing all this, but I didn't, and I gave up so much for you. Well, like, did you ever tell her that you wanted to be having that kind of life, or did you just assume that it wasn't in it for you? And, like, and I think that message is important, but, like, is it...
And here's the thing, it's so unfair to turn to somebody and be like, hey, I know we gave up our social lives for each other, but you stopped me from doing this.
Yeah.
It's like, no. She graced you with a marriage that you guys thought would work out, and it didn't. It's like she said, she already lost because she wanted to be married in the first place.
Yeah. Which I did like that line.
Yeah. And, like, and so I guess the question that you asked was, like, is there a good message? Is there, like, a resonant message?
And not only that, but is there a against the grain message? Because there's a lot of films that I don't think tackle communication and relationships in life like this film does.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's hard to make that film without making two people that are unfucking likable on the screen the whole movie.
Yeah, and I think it has that, like, for it, and I think that it's telling a different kind of story where it's like, you might end up hating someone that you loved at one point, and, like, that's okay. And, like, that doesn't, and, like, sometimes things just don't work out, and I think that is, like, a different message, and I liked it. But, like, did it particularly resonate with me? Like, no. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's because of what the message was. I think that's because of there are things that I did not like about the movie.
Okay, so...
I don't know, Bridget, you never really answered.
I don't remember what the question was anymore.
What
you're so, like, focused in there.
Did this film's message... No, it's not necessarily about resonating, although that's a good point. Do you think that the message was important? And do you think that the message was also against the grain of other films, like it was unique?
So something I wrote down a lot because I took notes. I took like 5 pages of notes.
Yeah, we see you're like flipping through this notebook. I'm like, oh man, we got a lot of content over here.
I just I'm an English major. I'm a creative writing major actually, and so one of the big things that we are taught is when going through other people's work is to kind of take notes when you're looking at elements of craft and otherwise. And I tried to look at this through craft as well as just like the content. But so it just helps me kind of keep my thoughts together. But I tended to make a lot of notes about like being like.
Sorry, that my dog just like sneezed.
Yeah.
He's like,
About being
Spoiler
like,
alert, there's 2 dogs.
yeah, they've just been cuddling us. Anyway.
About like kind of living who you're living for, like, is something I'm, especially at the very beginning of the film, I made a lot of notes about. Like, she talks about like I've been alive for like Charlie, I've been living for my son, and like I've been going from like what Charlie wants to do, and now my mom's telling me what to do.
Yeah.
I kind of like. It makes me, like, think maybe, like, what do you want to do? And sort of, like, acting on that.
and like yeah, like we were kind of talking about before, like what it means to like want something.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. It's an interesting thing that you took notes, and then like this movie is actually like widely written around like those 2 notes in the beginning, and it also is like a character showing moment where Adam Driver's character wants to share the note. He almost like he wants to show off.
Yeah, he's like, I think I'm a good writer.
She doesn't want to share the note because I think that his, their relationship crumbling like that, she doesn't emotionally trust putting that out there.
Yeah,
and
I
having
think
him know how she feels.
Yeah, and I think that she at that point has a certain level of like resentment towards him.
And it also shows how, like...
And Bridget said, like, too, she was like, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
She's like, I know those notes are going to come back in it.
Yeah.
She was like, that's going to be a thing.
Yeah, that was but that's one of the best reincorporations I've seen in a long time.
But it also shows how domineering he can be versus how, like, meek she is, you know? Like, she doesn't want her opinion super known. And that kind of became the downfall of their marriage, and he is so, like, domineering in his opinions and, like, takes charge of the situation.
Right. I mean, sorry.
No, go ahead.
He's a director for a reason.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly. That was perfect character for that kind of guy to play.
And, like, later on, I made a note that she, she changed her hair, and he's, like, still trying to control direct her
absolutely
with that.
And like the whole thing with like the notes on the performance, the
absolutely.
last performance she was in, he was just dying to share his notes.
Absolute
and, like,
control freak. Yeah.
Oh, I loved how like it showed like she was acting right there in front of him. With like letting him say the notes and everything, and then she turns that corner and just starts crying.
Yeah, she says, "I can't force tears," but in reality, she was in turn doing the opposite.
She was holding back tears because she was putting on a show for him. She was being herself, and then she turned that corner.
No. And like I will say that was like the most like that early scene where he's like desperate to give her the note was like the most uncomfortable scene in the movie for me because that is me 100%.
Absolutely.
Oh,
same.
it is. Yeah.
That's same.
Not
same
to
here.
come for you, but
I mean,
Bridget said, "Oh, it is."
Be quiet.
No, I'm the same way too. I'm so hypercritical.
Yeah, like and like like I do it to myself too. It's not just you, Bridget.
Yeah.
No, that is how you are, though.
And I'm hypercritical myself the same way.
And she's like, he won't be able to sleep unless you give it to me, and I'm like, big mood. And
one of the ways he's also hypercritical is you see, like, when he pulls his first lawyer aside, and he goes, she's winning, and then when he talks to, her in his apartment, he's like, you're winning. That is a pure sign of somebody who's hypercritical and feels like they are the ones who should be winning, because they're the ones who are exceeding.
Yeah, and you see in that moment when they're doing, like, the montage of scenes when they're reading the notes and she talks about him being competitive, like, you see him turn away and he's like, God damn it, Charlie. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's how it be.
Yeah.
But, let's talk about what everybody else is actually talking about. Because most people who saw this movie aren't talking about its worth. They're talking about the performances. Yeah. And how... I mean,
should we summarize it all, do you think? Do you think we should...
The whole film? No. I think people who are listening to this, they should see the whole movie.
If you haven't caught on, there will be spoilers in this podcast.
And if you haven't seen the whole movie, fuck you.
We're like a cinematic club. We want to talk about the film after the fact.
Yeah.
So we're analyzing it with you guys. If you guys want to leave comments, we're definitely gonna read all the comments because we'll probably have like 6. So we're gonna read them all.
We're baby podcast.
Yeah, we're baby podcast.
We're baby.
I think the dog just farted.
We're baby.
Awesome. Go get
You
some
might
air.
wanna cover
Go
your
get some
nose.
air freshener. Jesus
Brief
Christ!
pause
Oh my
on my
God.
end. The dog farted.
My dog farted. The dog had a moment where he farted and made everybody basically throw up. And also, we were discussing whether we were going to talk about personal matters in people's lives, and we decided yes.
Yes, we
So-
will be talking
I've
about
got trauma.
So let me just get through this little bit before we get to the trauma, because I want to get our ratings, and then we'll go into why Franny relates to this movie so much. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we should talk too about like.
I want to talk about the Academy stuff. So
Okay.
right now, and it's pretty much because every single film at the Oscars, it always is whatever movies about Hollywood or actors. This film is kind of that way.
Yeah.
And Adam Driver is, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinion, like the front runner for the best performance of the year, as well as Scarlett Johansson is like the second choice.
Mm.
So what I want to ask you guys is, we talked about the music. Obviously, it's great. The editing's great. What did you guys think about the performances?
I thought they were really good. I mean, I thought Adam Driver did a really good job. I usually like Adam Driver. I think he's great. So like I wasn't surprised to find that he did a good job, and Scarlett Johansson as well. I mean, for all the things that I didn't like about the movie, and I'll say them, when we get to that.
Mm-hmm.
But for all the things that I didn't like about the movie, the performances were not one.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Though I will say, Bridget said to me, she said, I didn't know Adam Driver could sing. And I was like, can he? So, like, there's that.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What?
Oh.
It's not good. Like,
So
it
the
is
point-
the
point of the
I know.
The point of the song has nothing to do
Yeah.
with any of that.
I know.
It shows
I
how
know.
relatable his character is, because who the fuck can
He had like a Professor Higgins moment at the end of
Yeah.
My Fair Lady kind of thing, except she didn't come back.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
no.
essentially the scene. Is he just kind of sung out like, "Oh, I am a fucking douche." Okay.
Yeah, I mean, no, I like, all jokes aside about his singing, which isn't good.
One of the ones that bothers me, though, is that a lot of people are talking about Laura Dern for the supporting.
Wait, hold on. Who the fuck's Laura Dern?
That's the mother.
Okay, I couldn't remember if she was the mom or Nora.
Yeah, she's the mom.
I feel like I didn't get a lot from her.
That's what's so frustrating is that they
Yeah.
want to. This is just the way people are talking. This cast might get like a full nomination, like across the board,
Oh.
and I don't see that at all. I hardly see. I like Scarlett Johansson, but like the killer force for me was Adam Driver in the film.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that Adam Driver did a really good job, but I also want to say that, like, I think in the script, Scarlett Johansson is a lot less likable than he is, especially early on.
I think that's such a perception because I
Yeah,
liked
well,
her plenty fine for a lot of scenes, and I mean I guess the divorce stuff, but at the same time you see that she's back-ended into having an aggressive divorce by people in her life
Yeah.
and trusting this
so,
lawyer.
Yeah, and so, like, and I think that, like, you being able to see her being pushed into it and being able to see that she functions when other people tell her what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that your ability to see that really is, like, something that Scarlett
Sorry,
Johansson
my dog
carries.
is lapping up water in the background.
Yeah, he's just real fucking thirsty. But yeah, I think that Scarlett Johansson, like, carries that character really well, who's not likable in a lot of moments.
Yeah.
And, like, and I think about the scene where she, like, hooks up with that guy, and she's like, I'm changing my whole fucking life.
Yeah.
And, like, I love that little moment for
That's a
her.
good
I was like,
moment.
good for you,
Yeah.
bitch. And she, like, stamps her foot, like,
But
I don't know, what do you think, Bridget?
Well, just going off of that scene a little bit, I was thinking that, like, you mentioned that it was, like, to not be adulterous.
yeah.
I didn't realize that. I thought that it was just because she was like,
Yeah.
fuck it, I'm gonna get, like, the pleasure I want. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah,
I think
that's
supposed to
it's
be
actually
both.
double layered.
Yeah.
But the big thing is like she gets what she wants.
And she's
But
commanding,
also-
what she normally doesn't.
They're not
Yeah.
technically divorced
Mhm.
yet.
Divorced?
Divorced?
He can't say it. It's great. He's got a little bit of an accent sometimes. Say theater.
No, I'm not saying.
Say theater.
No, say ketchup.
Fuck you.
That's not how you pronounce it. Anyway,
Alrighty then.
Okay.
regardless, it's got a double meaning. So,
Yeah.
I love that scene.
It shows like her
Yeah.
taking control, but it also shows her underhandedness too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I never
I
knew.
mean, I'm with you, Madison. I feel she's less likable.
Okay, but there's a reason for that.
There's a reason I feel she's less likable.
Do you want to just jump into that?
Yeah.
So-
Wait, I want to go back to the Laura Dern thing though.
Yeah.
Oh, Laura Dern, yeah.
Because we did kind of get away from that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like I just didn't get much from her. Actually, whoever played Nora,
Oh God, Nora.
I thought that she was a better.
At least I think I'm getting that right. You know, I haven't really checked myself on this. Give me 1 second.
Hey,
Wouldn't it be funny?
Hey,
I was like,
listeners, if you know who Laura Dern is,
yeah, could you
please
write in?
go ahead and send us an email to. What the fuck is the email
I'm
address?
pretty sure it's the older.
Crosscut.
Yeah, I'm right.
Gmail?
I'm
Don't
right.
say that.
It's that one.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's
That's
another-
not the mom. That's Nora.
That's
Nora. I'm pretty
oh,
sure.
oh, you're right. Okay.
Look.
I was-
Okay. All right.
All
So
right.
I'm sorry, Laura Dern.
I was getting it confused. I thought you were talking about the sister. When you were saying Nora, I forgot Nora was the lawyer.
Yeah.
Remember, you guys have seen this movie an hour ago, so I'm having some issues
It
with
wasn't
the
an
memory.
hour.
Nora
It wasn't an hour.
You're right. We had to go an hour.
But no, okay, then I understand Laura Dern because she did give a good performance
Yeah,
as
she did.
that.
But
Nora character.
we're talking. Think about the people that are up for supporting actor this year. You have
Well, I
Brad
don't
Pitt
think that she should win.
or supporting actress
Brad
too.
Pitt beats one.
Supporting actor and actress. If we're talking about like the main awards that do guy and girl,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
if we just even separate it, I just don't think, especially with Bombshell coming out and the things that people are saying about that, I just don't see why she's in the conversation.
Yeah,
because
same.
she probably has like a collective 7-10 minutes on screen.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that they're a good 7 to 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
by that extension, I actually liked Ray Liotta's performance better, and he's definitely not in the
Same.
conversation, and he was great.
yeah, I thought it was good.
Like, what
I
a
mean-
scumbag.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, as far as the supporting cast, there wasn't really a lot, which is fine because that's not the kind of movie it was. I mean, honestly, the kid in the movie did a
Yeah.
really good job.
He did a really good job. I was thinking that.
No?
I have a different opinion as far as the kid goes.
What's your
I've
opinion?
been spoiled with really
Oh.
like amazing kid actors this year though, so
What's your opinion of him? I thought he was good.
he was fine. He was fine, passable for the story. I mean, but
Yeah,
I'm
he
not
doesn't
trying
do
to
anything
I'm
for
not
us.
trying to slam on this kid or anything. I'm just saying that this year with like child performance, it was amazing. I mean, Jojo Rabbit, like oh my
I don't
god,
think the kid had to be like super great in this one.
Wow, this kid's gonna send us a diff.
yeah, this kid's just like
What the
you
fuck did you say
you
about me, bitch? Do you
ruined
know
my
who
Oscar
I am?
contention, you fuck, you know. But he's not getting nominated, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But the thing is I don't know if this film, because this is one of the best years of film, like in my lifetime. It's been
Yeah.
incredible. I just don't see even a Best Picture nomination per se, although I really liked it. But it's not only getting nominated for Best Picture, it has a good chance of winning, and Adam Driver is almost a lock. The only real like chain in the cog is the only really off chance is Joaquin Phoenix for Joker.
I will find it so upsetting if this movie gets Best Picture.
Yeah, definitely. But
Not
it's-
even because I didn't like it that much, which I didn't, but because there were so many
this
movies
year is
that were
incredible.
so good. It's like it just doesn't. It wouldn't make sense.
So before we get into impending trauma, let's give our kind of ratings of the film.
Okay, yeah, and we can talk about things we liked and disliked because I mean, like I think the things that I didn't like about it are valid.
Yeah, for me, it's I mean, it's pretty high up there. I'd say it's like my 5th favorite film of the year for me specifically. Just because it's like outside of like what I think the general opinion should be, this is like one of my little favorites, and I would say it's like a 8 out of 10
Okay.
for me.
So you like to give things on a number scale. I like to letter grade.
Mhm.
It's like it makes more sense to me.
Mhm.
So I would give this like a good C minus.
Ooh,
Really?
Jesus Christ!
I did not
That's
like
like
it that
so.
much.
If you
Like,
break
that's
it
why I
down
feel
in
like I
numbers, that's like a 5 out of 10.
I mean, sure. like I thought it was average. Like I liked it fine. It didn't really do it for me.
Even with that score was great.
I mean, I like the score, but again, like I'm taking it as a whole thing that didn't work well together. And there were just many times in this movie where things just didn't fit. Like I really feel, and I think I'm in the minority on this, like both in this room and like in the world at large. I did not like those musical numbers.
Really?
They did not belong in that movie to me. And
Oh, you mean the end? The song at the end? Is that what you're talking about?
no, I'm talking about when fucking they both sang the songs from Company.
At the end.
I mean, near the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just did not feel like those belonged in that movie. And I understand the inclusion of them. Like, I understand what they represented. in the way that they showed the changes in those characters. But I honestly feel like it is.
So you don't think a movie about a Broadway director and a former Broadway actress singing Broadway songs makes sense in the film?
I mean, I think
I'm not even trying to be a jerk. I'm just like,
No,
well, I don't.
no,
Who
I
the
think-
fuck else would sing them though?
Well, I think that them singing them at all, it just felt out of place. It
I
just
think
felt like a scene that I didn't need to know that they were feeling the way that they were feeling.
the whole
And I
film was
think that
so
it's-
like steeped in realism that I think that theatrical moment is kind of what had that like magic movie moment for me. Like that and the note at the end.
I think it's
There's
supposed
not-
to be a
it
little
just-
jarring.
Yeah.
Too.
It's supposed to kind of shake
Yeah.
you in that way because it's a moment of realization, and it's a total twist of the film because after that moment, the rest of the film is up on that like not happy ending, but kind of a realization. For the
And
rest
I
of the
think
movie.
that I didn't need those two musical numbers to tell me that shift was happening.
Okay, but
And, like-
here's my argument: is that would you
Let me-
rather be that musical moment, or would you rather be someone in the film being like, "We've really changed"? Because there's a lot
I
of
don't
movies that
need
talk
that
really
either.
stupidly to people. I think that this is a great mix of. It's very entry level for someone who likes film but isn't very critical. It's something that people can like. So, but it doesn't beat anybody over the head who really understands film either.
I felt beat
I don't know.
at times. Let me say this.
Okay.
Like, I feel that I did not need those musical numbers to be there whatsoever
Mhm.
to know how those characters were feeling. If you had shown me the party scene without the musical number, I would have known that she feels relieved to be through with it all and the way that she's viewing marriage now. And similarly, I already intuitively knew the way that Adam Driver's character was feeling about everything. I mean, that scene right before
I
it
do
where
make the argument though that the Scarlett Johansson one especially, it lets you know that Adam Driver didn't die. So there is that. It's an early onset of like he didn't bleed out on the ground. He's fine.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't be sitting there dancing and singing.
Right. I mean, yeah,
So,
but like, I
so
don't
that's
think you
why it's
assume-
jarring too. We go from absolute desolation. He falls on the ground. He's bleeding out. His kid's spilling milk on the floor and not taking what's happening, like and understanding it. And then in the next scene, it's all upbeat. It's all like upbeat,
Uh-huh.
bright colors,
Yeah.
everything. That is a great transition. That's not jarring for the sake of being jarring, but jarring for the sake of relaying a message without outwardly being like, he lost. He sure lost. If anything, the lawyer explained to him, like, you're going to get 45, 55. That was beating over the head. Because, like, okay, we fucking understand that he's not
I
going to.
just felt like I didn't need those musical numbers to be there. I didn't want those musical numbers to be there. And like this very long scene of Adam Driver just singing, like
I loved it.
I
loved
mean
it
that's
too. It brought
fine.
me to
I
tears.
just didn't. It just did not do it for me. It just did not affect me in any way. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not like that big of a musical theater.
It's also
person
a
that
great
it didn't affect me
reflection,
anyway.
right? It's a great reflection in the sense that, like, the last big thing, I mean, there's a little bit of scene in between, but the last big thing you see Scarlett Johansson's character do is that musical number, and it's like, as far as the company songs go, it's not like the most, like, fucking dour song ever, and it's at his expense, the song is a joke, kind of like, fuck you.
Yeah.
To then see on the flip side, she's in bright, sunny California where there's so much space.
Mhm.
He's then in a dark
Yes,
little
yeah,
dive
I mean, yeah.
with no space, singing essentially like a miserable realization.
Yeah.
But like I could have gotten those contrasts minus the musical.
I think the
here's-
music made it.
And
very
here's the
quotable.
thing, like the thing about it too, is that I think it's kind of cheap to use someone else's work
Oh, I don't agree with that at
to
all.
say what you are already trying to say. I feel like that like everything else that had already happened.
I
in
mean,
that movie-
there's soundtracks and films.
Well, yeah, but like to have those characters blatantly singing.
But it wasn't that blatant, because I guarantee you there's people out there that it wasn't blatant to them, it was explanative to them. Like, they understood what was being said because of the music,
Yeah.
not in spite of the music. Like, not as annoyed by it.
Yeah,
you get
I
that
just
because,
think-
and I understand where you're coming from, because I have those scenes in movies where I'm like, okay, like, Joker was a big one, I don't want to get into that right now, but Joker had a scene that was just like, oh my fucking god, I get it.
And
this movie for me wasn't like that, but I see where you're coming from.
And there were other scenes too, and not just the musical ones. I did like mostly what was with it for me is that like I actually quite liked the tone of the movie up until that point,
Mm-hmm.
and then those two songs were just like a weird tonal shift to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I heard the point that you made about it being like representative, but I didn't feel that it needed that. And something that Bridget noted too was that she didn't like the ending. And I want to let you talk about that.
You didn't like the ending?
No, it felt.
I mean, it's a hard
like,
movie to end. I'll give it that. Like,
yeah, I mean,
it's
yeah,
hard to
I mean,
wrap up.
yeah.
Ending. Like, it's just the beginning of their new life.
But why didn't you like it? Tell the room.
So I just didn't. I didn't feel like it felt. It just felt too neat to me.
Really?
I mean, like,
I don't get that at all. But I
No.
mean, I see what I mean,
Like-
literally in the sense that it was neat, as in that she like tied his shoes.
Yeah, I mean, it all got
I mean,
tied
that's in
up.
the literal.
Oh, yeah.
And but that's the thing is that was the literal shape for you. Like that was the okay, things are tied up. People have understandings. Compromises were made.
yeah.
She was supposed to have custody that night. She was supposed to have like time that night.
But
She made the
she's-
compromise of, I'm going to go ahead and let you take him tonight. He made the compromise of, I'm in California now, and I'm going to be for a while. That compromise brings them together.
And it almost shows how, like, maybe if they would have compromised like this during their marriage,
Things
they
would've-
could have been together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was interested in what you were saying earlier, though, about it being
I enjoy him,
Almost
the
too
literal
neat
sense
for
of him
you.
being out of the band, though. I loved that little, like, bit. I love that intention. And that, you know, like, it's his family, but he's out of the band. Like, he's
Yeah.
no longer a part of that lifestyle of living around his mother-in-law, living with his wife, living with his kid. Things aren't like that anymore.
Mhm.
And that's literally shown to you by the fact that they offered him to be a kicked-out member of the band in the
Right.
film. That's incredible. I love that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted you to say more about like why about you like how you felt about the ending.
Like, I felt that it was, kind of, like, not quite, like, they're like, well, we gotta give it a happy ending, or a semi-happy ending, so then they kind of were like, well, it's compromised, and he drives off into the sunset with his child, and I don't know, again, this is not really the type of movie I typically watch, and I don't have any opinions on how they could have done it better. So, like,
I feel like it shows how unhappy the ending though is because like you see her like almost kind of like lust for what if in her eyes.
Both of them.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
Both of them because like he's finally out here. Like he like walks into his old house. He's like looking at the photos.
There's the
and-
note scene, which is just like Jesus
yeah, and
fucking
everything. And
Christ.
like he starts thinking about what if, and then like she starts thinking about what if, and like seeing him be a good dad. Like it just shows like their love for each other, and shows how like nothing is tied up. I guess I see it entirely different than you. Like it
Yeah.
shows how like this is real, and like
This
it
is how we're
isn't
gonna
an
tie up
ending.
the story, but
But
It's not-
None of their emotions
Yeah.
are tied up as neatly into a
Mhm.
bow, like because
Mhm.
she was
Yeah.
learning how the story was.
And here's the thing: if you're somebody who doesn't like reincorporation in films, you're gonna fucking hate this movie. It is loaded to the brim with reincorporation.
I like it sometimes. I think it worked really well here.
Yeah,
They did it
yeah,
well.
I agree.
and
They
I-
didn't shove it down your throat.
for
They-
me, actually, though, I feel like this movie should have cut off. And I know you're gonna hate this. I feel like this movie should have cut off after Adam Driver's song.
That's
Yeah.
not where I wanted to end. But I do think that the movie's a little long. I think it goes on a little long.
Yeah, it's got a little
You
bit.
get a little tired of
chunk
it.
on
I watched it in 3 bursts, basically. When I watched it the first time, I like had to pause like twice.
Well, then Irishman's gonna be a fucking
Very.
moment.
I know I'm gonna fucking die.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mark.
But
Mark,
so
if you're listening.
Bridget,
But anyway,
your rating, your actual physical rating.
wait. One thing I want to say, in order to back me up,
Yeah.
is that Bridget and I were watching this movie,
Mhm.
and we paused. We had to stop and go do something right after he cuts his arm and he's on the floor.
Yeah.
And so she was like, when we hit play, it was like we were watching a different movie.
It felt very.
And
Well,
that speaks to my
Also,
point.
but that speaks to why you don't like the numbers, because the best
It's
part
supposed to feel like
is that it's the contrast is supposed to happen suddenly.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be processing. I mean, she was literally screaming like, "Oh my God, is he dead? Oh my God, is he okay?" Whatever.
I never thought that he was dead.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a big enough cut.
well, it was actually.
And like the fact that he
But
felt
that's-
I don't know. I don't.
You can bleed out from anywhere. I'm not gonna.
I mean, we were laughing at that scene.
And like,
it
kind of
was
like
I think-
how clueless the kid
There is funniness to it. There's
Yeah.
almost like a. There's almost like maybe just a hint of oh my God, he's escaping me. The director that I love but also don't like at all.
Struggling.
Grand Budapest.
Wes Anderson.
That was almost a Wes Anderson-y moment.
I
but-
didn't get that at all.
but
Because
then it
I
hits
like Wes
realization.
Anderson movies. I didn't like this one.
You didn't say you didn't.
No,
like
I
it.
didn't like it as much as everyone else likes it. Like, I feel like I log on to fucking Letterboxd or whatever, and everybody's like, "This movie is so
Yeah.
good, it's
Yeah.
so real."
I will
was
say
like,
that it's in my top 5, but that is like changing daily. Like because the films this year, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, and
Now
I
I'm gonna
don't-
ask again. Your rating.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that Bridget defended my point.
That's fine. We already knew that.
I mean,
Well,
maybe had
it
I
needs to be
watched.
reiterated.
Maybe had I watched it going.
Beginning
Like-
to end.
I mean, like if we hadn't had to go and run some errands.
Yeah, that definitely will. I mean,
Yeah.
unplanned intermission can
Yeah.
ruin any movie. So.
So, my rating was probably 6 or 7 out of 10.
Okay, that's
Like
not. That's
I-
better than Madison.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You said.
like
I'm feeling very strongly.
I enjoyed
I
it.
get it.
I didn't particularly relate to any of the characters
Yeah.
as much as I feel like I could have.
Mhm.
And I mean, like, I enjoyed it though. I enjoyed the insertion
Yeah,
of the.
no one here is saying like it is a dog shit movie. I think even Madison, who is like super critical, is like
No, I did not like this movie. I thought it was a fine Netflix movie.
oh Jesus.
Oh, the way you
that
said
hurt.
that.
That was just a kick in the dick.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it was a Netflix movie, and
But
it was fine. the way
it was,
that Netflix
but I
movies
mean,
are fine.
all right, now we
I
have,
feel like that could have been.
now we got a point of contention here. It doesn't matter if the movie's on Netflix.
No,
You can
that's not what
find
I'm
great
saying.
cinema anywhere. If you haven't seen Klaus, I Lost My Body. Those two are my favorite animated films of the year. If you haven't seen Irishman, it's long and pretentious. I'm just kidding. Don't kill me. But
No,
I have
I'm
my
not saying
opinions
I'm
on
not
that.
saying Netflix movie as a negative thing. I'm saying that it's just
Well-
one of those movies that you're like scrolling around on Netflix and you're like, yeah, this looks pretty good. This is a good Netflix movie.
until it wins Best Picture.
I mean, if it wins Best Picture, I'm gonna be mad about it.
Well, and also to bring up another Netflix film that's great. I mean, Roma won Best Foreign Feature, and that's a Netflix movie. So
Yeah, I mean, Netflix movie doesn't necessarily mean it's produced by Netflix. It's just like one of those movies you're scrolling around on Netflix and you're like, yeah, this is a good one. Like,
Oh,
this is pretty good.
now I understand what you're saying.
I'm not saying it's a Netflix.
I
I mean,
get it now.
though it happens to be produced by Netflix.
Yeah,
It's like a fine Netflix movie.
it's
like,
a couch movie.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
if Love Actually were on Netflix. You'd be like, yeah.
Isn't it on Netflix?
I have strong feelings. I love Love Actually.
I mean, I also love Love Actually,
I was
but I
like-
think it's a great like little Netflix movie. Like you just sit and you
Franny, movie rating.
wait. Did Bridget give hers?
Yeah, 6,
Yeah.
7 out of 10.
Oh, sorry. Did
Yeah.
we interrupt you while you were saying something?
I feel like I was saying something else. Shit.
What were you saying?
I mean, am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
Fucking shit, motherfucker, bitch, dick, cunt.
I
She got
fuck.
on out there.
They hate us because they ain't us.
Say another one, Bridget. Say fuck right now.
Fuck.
Right now.
Better.
You say it with a
Fuck.
question. She says everything with a question mark.
She said fuck.
Should
I say fuck?
Anyway,
Fuck.
Brady.
Be assertive.
Ah.
rating. What do you think?
I thought it was near perfect. I
So,
loved it.
so
That's
how,
cool.
how are you going to give your rating? You going to do number, letter grade?
Ooh. I think numbers. I think it was like a 10 out of 10 for me.
Wow, that's
Woo!
great.
Honestly.
Hey, you know, you sometimes you see them.
Yeah.
For me,
'Cause I was crying and I was like, why am I crying? Like, I
Did not
got it and
feel-
it was just amazing.
That way at
like
all.
for me, Jojo Rabbit this year is that's up there for me. So I get it, even though I can objectively see that no film's perfect, but like
Yeah.
a 10 out of 10 for you, I could see why that's a 10 out of 10 for you.
Yeah. And I think it just, goes off of a little bit of what I was saying, like...
Sorry, it doesn't reach. I need to plug it into somewhere else.
Oh, no.
My
There's an
laptop is
extension
dying.
cord.
Minor technical difficulties.
There's literally an extension cord like right by you. It should be.
Like, I don't know, Bridget plugged it in.
No, I mean there's an extension
She's
cord
blame Bridget
like behind
again.
you, the white one.
Right,
I was trying to be nice.
Please, I know, I'm just playing with you. Please keep talking.
I love how we're doing this, like, we're actually, like, doing our tech checks in the middle of the podcast.
The notification that it was dying came up.
Oh my gosh. Maybe it was of laughter, because we're just so dingle.
Are we?
Right as we're about to talk about trauma.
That's right.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Yes.
one of
But
the...
what was your rating? Sorry, 10 out of 10?
10 out of 10, definitely.
Hell
That's
yeah.
really bold to me, but yeah. I mean...
I feel, like you said, you feel things strongly. I feel very strongly about this in a completely opposite direction.
If you guys follow...
I don't feel like I hated it, though. Like,
Yeah.
I did not hate this movie. There were things that I really liked in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
If you
But
guys
there are
follow
also
us on Letterboxd, we'll have under our written review at some point, it'll have our numbers listed for every movie that we're going to review.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you guys are trying to like get like a quick review before you jump into the movie, you don't want to listen to our whole podcast, there will be the numbers listed on Letterboxd.
Or letters,
you.
because I like letters.
Or letters, yeah. We're going to put it in the review written section so you can see all of our ratings.
Yes.
We won't do a cumulative rating because like she does it with letters and she's all, eat, pray, love and doesn't care about the ruls. So
What does it even mean to be? What does it mean to be eat, pray, love?
I don't
Please.
know, but
Pray
Pray tell.
I'm praying to love eating more. Anyway, Franny.
What was I going to say though?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was gonna say that there are things that I really liked about this movie, and I don't want to come off like there are things that there's nothing I liked about it.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, like the score and the performances and the editing was amazing.
Cinematography was good too. I mean,
Cinematography
it wasn't
was
like
good.
holy shit.
No, it
But
wasn't
it was
like
good.
but like
There's
know.
a lot of scenes where they would do it, and it's almost like that awkward thing where like you're sitting in a room like a doctor's office, and the doctor's desk is just like a little too far away from you to feel comfortable. There were scenes like, especially like when she was in like the lawyer's office,
Mm-hmm.
Nora, and there were scenes where it just had it panned on the bathroom door, and she was inside the bathroom, and it was on it the whole time they were talking. Those choices, interestingly, like make you feel the tension or or even the awkwardness of the scene. And I love that. But other than that, like the cinematography was pretty good.
Yeah, and like the scenes. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you go.
Something I wrote down was that like one of the scenes, the scene when they're fighting, I think was excellent.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh,
That was a
that's
great scene.
incredible.
That scene is so
Amazing.
good.
Yeah.
Right now,
So here's the thing too. Yeah, I know that sucked,
was a rough
but
moment.
we just rewound it because it was so intense.
Yeah.
The movie does this thing too, where like clearly they're upset with each other, but everything's kind of muted in the way that real people argue until that scene.
Yes,
Right.
and he
Yeah.
says, "I wish you would die."
I wish you were dead, like in a way
Yeah.
that Henry would be safe.
Yeah, he was like, "If I knew that Henry would be okay, I wish he would not only get an illness,
Yeah.
but also get hit by a car and die."
Yeah.
And I was
And,
like,
"Okay."
"Okay."
And then her just like like you're disgusting. I never wanted this that.
Like I was
Like-
repulsed by
like
you.
that-
Like,
She says, "You're just like your father."
And that
She didn't say
conversation
that,
only
yeah.
happens when they're alone together for the first time
Yeah.
since she left New York.
And it's like
Right.
they needed to say those things to each other.
Definitely.
He
Yeah.
needed to tell her that he wished that she would just die.
And she needed to tell him that
That she found him disgusting.
that he is selfish and that he could never be a real artist because of how selfish he is. Because she needed to know, like, you were selfish our whole marriage. That scene is incredible. You're absolutely right. I
Yeah.
can't believe we almost ended on the marriage story stuff before talking about that scene because that was incredible.
also, but the cinematography moment that I was referring there was when she goes into the other room
And he walks into his bedroom.
and I think this is his bedroom, and then he follows with her, but we don't follow.
Mhm.
We stay behind, and it's almost as if we are watching.
Standing in the room, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost as if we are someone in the room, albeit a child or.
Yeah, I was
another-
like, for people with divorced parents, it probably
Yeah.
like something
Franny was
I
fucking
saw-
actually crying, so that was
something I saw in the negative reviews of this movie because I was like looking at them and I was like, I wonder what other people didn't like
She
about
hates this movie so much. She's like, I want to hear what they hate about it.
I like to for any movie I see, I like to know what people didn't like, and a lot of them were like, if I wanted to see two people arguing arguing and screaming at each other for 2 hours, I'd just go home and visit my parents or whatever.
Wow.
But I think that plays in more to why it's so exact.
Yeah, no.
You know, it's
It
so
was
Yeah.
good. It was
precise.
super relatable if anybody's been through that.
And like when he punched that wall, that was like a very
I said, "Oh God,
But
all right."
not only the violent outburst, but also the dirtiness of the core. Like Frani,
Yeah,
she very much related to it. Would you like to?
definitely.
Sure.
And just like showing like their lawyers like being sharks and like watching the parent like watching them like hear the shit that their lawyers were saying about each other. Because,
Fudge a lot of facts, lie.
Yeah, fudge a lot of
Yeah.
facts, lie, like make a mountain out of a molehill, like when they pretty much accused her of being an alcoholic because she had like a glass too much of wine and was
Right.
joking about
And the
falling
car
on the
seat with
stairs.
him. You know?
But
And
she
the
was
car
like-
seat
Yeah.
with him, exactly. And like it shows how things get blown out of proportion in that realistically. Like spoiler alert, my parents had a very messy divorce. And the court proceedings went on for a long time and everything, and like they're still like I can't imagine my parents in the same room, and it is
I've been with
15
her
years,
for
16 years later.
I've been with her for almost 6 years now. We're going
Yeah.
on 6 years. I've never seen them in the same room in my entirety of being with her.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just
So-
to give you an idea.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool seeing two characters that are like going through a divorce, like still have like a little bit of love for each other, because I don't think I ever got to see that with my parents. Or just like the respect of each other as humans. Which I think was kind of cool that like they showed it going in that direction, didn't just show like two people just hating each other. And like it showed the reality of it too, like I said, like the court shit isn't neat and tidy and doesn't get wrapped in
No.
a bow. Like that
Mhm.
shit is brutal. Like, for example, we had 2 custody battles in my life. Once when they first got divorced, and a second time in early middle school. My mom was trying to take me to Michigan to go live with her boyfriend. And my dad fought again for custody. And during this time, my mom, who's a little
We don't have to get into defaming.
we don't have to slander,
but there are
but
opinions.
There's definitely some opinions there. But yeah, she wrote, which this is factual, this is not slander. She wrote emails to my dad pretending to be me from my email account, saying how much I hated him and saying I didn't want to live with him. And it showed, like, I like how this shows how messy that can get.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I like how they did everything for their kid. Because that's not always the reality of it.
And I think the movie, like, teaches us a lesson also to be like, you still have to, you're a parent first, a divorce second.
Exactly.
It teaches people in maybe divorce situations.
Which is something I'm sure my parents, like, if they could go back and redo, they would.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were more divorced people than they were parent. Well, at times, you know, I'm sure.
I mean, yeah.
Not slandering them
And,
or
like,
anything. I love
you
them,
can-
but goddamn.
And like you can see too, like they're both pulling their kid around
Yeah.
to see these different lawyers. He talks about going to like 11
Oh
different
my
offices with
fucking
his
god.
mom.
No.
Yeah.
And like
Genius.
and it's like that's your and like especially for Adam Driver's character, like that's your only time that you get
Yeah.
to spend
And it'd be like
with
that
your
sometimes.
kid. And
Yeah.
you're and like instead of, you know, having that quality time with him, instead of like playing with him or doing what he wants to do, instead you're going to divorce lawyers with him in tow.
Yeah. I mean,
And like
Yeah.
and though this is an example of the thing that I like, this is both an example of a thing that I liked and didn't like about the movie. Like, it did show like how the kid gets stuck in the middle, but then there was also times when it showed that a little bit too on the nose for me. Like with the scene where they're literally pulling him between them, I was like, okay, like
Yeah,
I
but
get it,
that's so
movie, I get
factual.
it.
yeah, I mean, that is both, like visibly, like, metaphoric, but also, like, there are literal times where you will see kids wrapped around people's legs, holding onto
Yeah,
people's arms.
I just was like,
Because kids
yeah.
actualize their emotions more than
Yeah,
more,
yeah.
Like adults understand it's inappropriate to hold on to somebody as somebody else is trying to
Yeah.
pull you. But a little kid is honest in his actions, and I've definitely seen that.
Yeah, and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure I've done that.
I
to my
once saw a
parents.
child throw a burger at his mother's face.
that's the funniest thing in the world.
She had. It was at Wendy's. She had ketchup and mustard all over herself, and he said, and I quote, and I'm quoting this because I was walking right by. He said, "I want to live with Dad." He's like a little kid. He threw an open burger, in her face. Children actualize their emotions.
They do.
So that scene isn't so outlandish.
Yeah, I just felt like it was just one of those examples where it like showed me something that I already knew.
I mean, I completely took that differently.
She's so raw and negative on this movie, and it makes me very happy.
What do you mean?
Because it makes for great conversation.
I'm not so negative. I mean,
would you even put it in your top 10 of the year?
I mean, God, I don't know. I don't compare as much as maybe you do, but probably not. Like, if I had to sit down and make my top 10 list, it probably wouldn't.
Which we will. Eventually, we will.
Eventually, we'll make a top 10.
Around Oscar season, we'll all have our top 10 lists on Letterboxd.
But I saw that less of like the kid being dragged around, and more of it's sort of like, because of this child, like Scarlett Johansson's character, Nicole, even when, like, Adam Driver pulls him, he, like, the child grabs his mom, and she's, like, pulled as well.
Yeah.
So it
like,
wasn't,
you saw more as, like, he's what's keeping them together.
Yes, that's what I saw. Because, like, Scarlett...
Pour some water here, y'all.
Johansson isn't, like...
Some ASMR for you guys.
Like, Scarlett Johansson isn't pulling on the other end.
Yeah.
It's not like she's literally pulling him. Like, I think that he's what's keeping them together, and he's what's keeping them linked.
Yeah,
is how I read that.
Yeah, I think that's a good take.
Yeah, and more proof that Madison maybe wasn't too overhanded, because she drew something different from it. Destroyed.
Because we, like, talked about it a little bit.
Whatever, I just want to talk more.
Alright, so...
Hey. Alright.
Great! So, anyway... We're going to take a quick pause. We'll be back in just a second. When we come back, we're going to talk about a different movie. I think we've bled this one dry a little bit, in a good way. I think everybody's emotions are raw on the table.
I think everybody talked about what they wanted to talk about in regards to this movie, unless anybody else has anything.
So when we come back, we're
going
to talk about Honey Boy.
Yes.
Honey Boy?
Honey Boy.
Honey Boy. Bridget has something to say before we move on.
I forgot to mention this, but I feel like Adam Driver's voice is like the voice of someone in a documentary who doesn't want their, like, identity to be revealed, and so it's deepened. And I don't know why.
It does sound like that. He's like, fuck.
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 And you blamed me for it.
He goes really hard on his T's sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I think that gives the good Kylo Ren vibes, though. Like, he's very Star Warsian.
Well, good for Kylo.
Yeah.
Good for Kyle Ron.
Good for Kylo Ren. Yeah. Anyway.
Also, Adam Driver, he's like, I don't even like boys like that, but he's like ugly cute. Like, he's one of those ugly, hot guys. He's ugly hot.
You don't like boys at all. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, I said that.
Oh, I thought you meant you didn't like boys like him, like ugly cute boys. I thought.
No, I don't like boys, period. Sorry,
Wow.
male listeners.
Wow, you
Sorry to
so many
alienate
hearts worldwide.
If
Sorry, men.
If I've broken your heart in this episode, please
let us
support
know.
our Patreon.
You've got no shot with Madison. She's off the table for you all. Sorry, men.
So, I guess we'll just...
But yeah, he's ugly hot. That's what I'm
I guess, like, since we've already come back...
I have to pee.
Okay.
We're gonna pause again, but we just had that thing to say about
Soon we'll be back with Honey Boy.
Alright.
I'm good. But you have to, like...
You're crunching chips, but we are back, baby.
Oh, no.
The pour of the water, the crinkle of the chip bag.
That's our noise.
That's the coming back
our
noise.
transitional noise.
The ASMR.
I want to go to Honey Boy.
It is time to talk about Honey Boy.
What do you think?
I mean,
just
one of my
blew a
favorite
bubble with a
podcasts, they
straw.
do just make a slurping noise between stuff. Perfect.
That's upsetting.
That upsets you?
No, she's making my dog nervous.
Sorry, dog. I'll stop.
But yeah, Honey Boy.
Honey Boy is another movie that we saw.
Ooh.
So much like Marriage Story was Franny's favorite movie of the year, Honey Boy is actually, I believe, Bridget's favorite movie, and maybe like in the contention for Madison. I don't know.
It certainly is up there.
So since it's in like barely the top 10 for me, not that I didn't love it, you guys can lead with this one. I'll just interject when I see fit and call bullshit.
All right then.
All right.
So Honey Boy, like if you don't know, is sort of Shia LaBeouf's. I mean, not sort of. It is Shia LaBeouf's like autobiographical. Like he wrote this movie. It's his autobiographical screenplay. And
I do want to say this though. He also did probably his best performance of his career in this film.
Yeah, no, he did a great job. So it's about his sort of life as being a child star, because we all sort of grew up with Shia LaBeouf. Like at least people our age grew up with Shia LaBeouf, and like seeing him in like Even Stevens for sure, and then Holes, and then Transformers and stuff like that.
That one where he's like disabled, and he has like that sister. I can't remember it, but it always made me cry.
I still don't know what movie that is.
I can't remember what it's called, but like
we've talked about it before, and
he's like a twin brother, and his sister's like a normal girl, and he's like special needs, but like he of course has a heart of gold, and you're like just crying. So yeah, there was that as well.
Sure, but but I think we sort of grew up watching Shia LaBeouf, and subsequently watching him as he got older, sort of have, I guess what you call like a downward spiral.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I'd say downward shot.
Like, the whole downward shot anymore bag thing,
which was an art installation, sure, but I think I've heard stuff. I mean, I'm just kind of total rumors. He wrestled Tom Hardy naked.
Yes.
I also heard that he spit into his hand aggressively before shaking it with Steven Spielberg the second time they met after the Indiana Jones film. So
word.
Their moment where they're trying to come back together and be civil, he spit chewing tobacco stuff into his hand. Don't know if it's true or not, but if it is true, fucking metal. That's a metal move.
That is a metal move. So,
he also gave his Indiana Jones hat to Kanye West.
So, I mean, yeah, there's like a lot going on with him for a time. And so this is a movie that he wrote while he was in rehab about his life and about his father, basically. And about his tumultuous relationship with his father throughout his childhood. And the thing that I find really interesting about this movie is that part of the movie is actually seeing him write this movie. So you sort of it sort of takes place in two different times. It takes place in like the mid-90s when he's in Jonah Hill's mid-90s. That is Jonah Hill, right?
Yeah, mid-90s, yeah.
In mid-90s by Jonah Hill.
That's a great flick. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I actually haven't seen it. But anyway, it takes place in the mid-90s when he's sort of like on the cusp of his child stardom. Like he's not quite there yet, but he's up and coming in this like Disney world, and then it also takes place in the present day,
or close to the present day.
It should be noted
present where there's
a great scene in the beginning where it's a montage of all the films he's been in.
Which I missed.
But the reason, she missed because she was grabbing his popcorn. She's a fucking gangster.
Yeah, I know. The lines at this movie theater, which it might be an acronym, but the lines were really crazy at this unnamed acronomic movie theater.
But what I was saying with that though is you see in both that opening as well in later parts of the film that because of rights issues they can't expressively say what the show was.
Yeah.
But clearly there's a scene early on where you're seeing that he's starting in Even Stevens because he has that shirt and then the pie in the face. So this is around the beginning of Even Stevens is when it picks up with this character.
Yeah, he's just getting his start.
Do you guys remember what his fake name was? Otis, yes.
I was just thinking about that, actually.
Yeah, Otis. So
yeah,
there's clearly some rights issues and some life right issues that he had to work around. So
yeah,
right. So you kind of get to see this movie in two different time periods. You get to see it in the 90s when he's becoming famous, and then you get to see it in the present day where he already is famous, and he's also dealing with his mental health spiraling downwards, and his life generally spiraling downwards. There's an incident which lands him in rehab, and that's sort of where this movie begins in its conception. Not that the movie literally begins with him in rehab, because it doesn't, but this movie is, you get to watch this movie being conceived.
Yeah.
in the movie, which is a really cool thing to do. It's like
I really enjoyed that.
He's in like a celebrity rehab kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like his coping mechanism for PTSD, which you see him getting diagnosed with PTSD for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because he's not even coming to terms with the fact that like that's something that he can be diagnosed with.
Yeah.
He's so self-blaming.
Yeah.
His character in reality, Shia himself, is so self-blaming. He blames himself for being always in rehab. It's schizophrenic. It's all self-done things.
Mm.
It's all things that contain him. And I think it shows when they say PTSD, meaning that something was done to him versus him doing something.
Yeah,
he's
he had a
uncomfortable.
traumatic experience.
Yeah, he's uncomfortable with that notion.
With PTSD, like, writing it out,
it's
owning all those memories,
like
that's a
so
great
hard.
therapeutic thing to do.
Yeah, it is
so
very
hard. He does that, and that's what formulates the movie.
Yeah. I think that is what makes this my top for the year. Is just
which there's still more to see for everybody.
Right.
But for right now,
Thus far, this is my top of the year, and it's probably going to be very hard to beat. I just saw myself so much in this movie. I saw myself so much. I was diagnosed with PTSD in July of 2018. My reaction, it wasn't mad. I wasn't mad. But my reaction was very similar. It was like, I can't. That doesn't sound right. And it was a very weird diagnosis. It was just kind of like flippantly put, they're like, you have this, and PTSD. And then I was like, wait, what? Like, hold on a minute. What?
Just reading off a grocery list at this point. Also,
hold up.
You a dumb one. Like just reading everything off. That's horrible.
Yeah, it was kind of terrible, actually.
Yeah.
And then
that's
I was
definitely
just kind of like
PTSD that they did that. Lovely.
And it was just sort of like I had to deal with it on my own.
Yeah.
And like it just made so much sense later on. Like once I came to terms, I'm like, shit, that's why. And so like when I was watching Otis.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we gotta be clear about who's Shia and who's Otis. Because Shia LaBeouf is in this movie. He plays his father in this movie.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, there's Shia actor and then the Shia standing
Lucas
character.
Hedges plays the older version of Shia.
Yes.
I don't remember the name of the younger one. I usually hate Lucas Hedges, but he was good in this.
I think he's just so
I just
fine.
feel he's the best agent on the planet. Because somehow every year he's like, you're in the best movie of the year. I'm like, fucking whoever his agent is, like, he or she does not get paid nearly enough.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, sorry.
Go on.
We'll call the character
Otis.
Yeah.
Yes.
But just watching Otis, like, have a reaction to that, like, I was like, holy shit, like, that was me. And, like, I don't know, it's not something I typically talk about. It's not, like, that I talk about very much. But I don't know. And then going off of that, the facility that he was in, that felt like really very real to me as well. Because I was in a couple of, I was hospitalized a couple times. And so like there is so much anger towards the people that work at these facilities. Because we see Shia have so much. What?
Otis.
Otis. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
See Otis.
Get it together.
She's talking about some real deep, like, meaningful shit. Everybody's like, it's Otis!
It's Otis, you dummy.
You would know one. As previously. No, just kidding.
Sorry. Anyway.
I'm also, like, so wrapped up.
We all love Bridget.
Yeah.
We do.
We all love
Especially
Shia.
me. Yeah.
Go on.
But we see Otis, like, being so angry. He's just so incredibly angry.
Yeah.
At the beginning of his stint in rehab. And we see that he kind of directs that as the people that are working there. And, like, that's something that I experienced as well, because it's either you get angry at the people holding you there, or you get angry at yourself. And if you get angry at yourself, that means you have to change. And
true.
Jesus Christ, that's some heavy shit. You got a point.
like
Like, I'm sorry, I'm just blown away by the level of, like, actual shit being said. Like, we were just talking about dumb shit 5 minutes ago, so.
Yeah.
Let me just
I don't
get
know.
into this realism real fast. I'm sorry.
Like,
It's just this is why this movie hit me
Yeah,
so
no,
different. Like
and
I could
now,
not say anything.
So here's
after
the thing
I
too.
just- I
Right
just-
off the bat, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
You
before I was talking like, "Honey Boy," I don't get why they like it so much, and then you throw this shit on there, I'm like, God damn, this is a
Yeah.
powerful movie.
This is the first
But
time.
I
cried.
sheerly do not relate because in no way is this like a reflection of my life.
Well,
Yeah, that's how
But
I am with
now I'm
Marriage
seeing
Story.
the strength of the story within. So I just want to clarify real fast. I think it's a great movie, but I
Yeah.
understand now why they like love it so
Well,
much more.
like I think something about it too is like Shia LaBeouf does not get a good childhood in this movie. Otis does not have a good childhood in this movie whatsoever.
Fucking Christ.
But I think
Right.
even people who had, this is something we were talking about like right after we got out, like even people who had good childhoods can like relate to this movie
There's
in
something,
some
yeah.
way.
And
Yeah,
that there definitely
because-
was that for me too. But.
Because something that runs throughout this movie is that our parents are human beings. And because they are human beings, they are going to disappoint us.
That's why we
There
kind of
is-
tied this with Marriage Story because that
Yeah.
also.
Because it's
Yeah.
about, I mean, because this movie is saying, like, there are going to be times in your life where your parents are not going to be there for you in the way that you wish that they would have been. They're not going to be the kind of parents that you wish that they were in the moment that you needed them to be. Because there's this really good scene where Otis tells his father, like, I need you to start being better to me. And like we've all felt that way about our parents at one point or another because our parents are human beings and human beings will disappoint you. And that sounds like nihilistic, which is not the kind of person I am.
No,
But it's true because like they're human people, and they will not meet your expectations all the time of what a parent should do.
You as an individual would never want to be held up to the standard of I'm going to be the perfect person all the time.
Right.
But I think that this movie, even though it does show like his dad's a human, his dad's also kind of a fuck.
Well,
my God,
for sure.
Yeah, and they're not afraid to show that.
Fun
Oh,
fact
no.
about the film: there was a rights issue in the beginning when he was writing the movie, and he needed to have the okay to make it about his dad. So he lied to his dad and said that Mel Gibson was going to be playing to him. So his dad signed the papers.
That's really funny.
I literally love that. And the thing is, you hear that story and you're like, just from that story, you're like, okay, the character Shia plays and that guy in real life, they're the same fucking guy.
Like,
Because that
absolutely.
character in that movie would have been like, Mel Gibson needs to play me because I'm a fucking star. The character's this rodeo clown who isn't as talented as his son.
And
Right.
like that just runs through the movie. Just that notion of him
Jealousy.
feeling less than his son.
Yeah.
And like there's
It's
just this scene
Oh,
where
it's
after they've had this big confrontation, he says
so
like,
haunting.
yeah, he says like, how do you think it feels to have my son paying me? How do you think that makes me feel? And the response is like, well, you wouldn't be here if I didn't pay you. And that just like says everything about who that character is.
Oh,
Who
definitely.
both of them are. The
Yeah.
negative and nihilistic thing that went then over Shia and for the rest of his life because he's like, well, this person who's programmed to love me. No, I'm talking about Shia
you're
LaBeouf,
talking
the
about-
person.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I guess I could say the Otis character. You're all right. I guess I could say that too. The character the movie is about. If you see that now when you hear stories about Shia LaBeouf, he's just kind of a douche essentially. Well, it's like, well, where do you think he learned it from?
Yeah.
And where do you think the person who's programmed to love him didn't love him the right way?
And there's so many times in the movie where he makes it clear that his father, Otis's father, makes it clear that he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
He's like, I wish I could be somewhere else, and like you see this character that he's playing, and he's just like this supreme bullshitter for one. Like there's this really great line that I think is a little underrated in the movie. His father is an alcoholic who goes to AA meetings, and Otis says, even his AA shares are an amalgamation of other people's AA shares. So, like, you can tell that he just, like, sucks from people. Like, he just sucks what he needs from them.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you see him do that to Otis as a young kid when he's, like, his per diem, where is his per diem money going, They're living out of this motel.
Yeah.
And he won't give him the love that he's craving. Like, there's a point where Otis says, like, you won't even hold my hand, and that's true.
And there's actually a great scene where you see them holding hands for a minute, and then
Mhm.
as soon as there's people around, the father's like ashamed to hold his hand.
Yeah.
Whether it be that he's ashamed to be his father, which I don't think is the accurate thing. I think he feels so much self-hatred he can't even walk with his son in hand.
Yeah.
He's like I'm such a big piece of shit. I shouldn't even be doing this. I think that's the takeaway from
Mhm.
the character, but maybe not. Yeah, and
And
there's
then
another...
right after that scene, he talks about his jealousy of his son too, because some girls like recognize Otis.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he just goes into
He's, man, I wish I was you, slinging all that. He says some fucking horrible, white cis male shit. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a very gross character.
Yes.
But, like, Shia LaBeouf plays him so well.
Oh
And,
Yeah.
my god, he's amazing.
and then in the end
So
credits of the movie, you see these, like,
good.
old photos of them together, and he's, like, a dead ringer, which...
Mm-hmm.
And, like,
mean-
one of the things... That's, like, something I really liked about this movie is, like, there's so much power in playing the person who...
Yeah, that's
like playing your abuser.
Yeah.
It's very much therapeutic. You can tell.
Yeah.
that
And
this-
like understanding his abuser on like a whole nother level.
yeah.
And, he made this movie for the first person that would pay for it with Amazon. I don't
Mhm.
know if he ever thought it was even going to hit theaters, but it's such a masterclass that, of course, it did. And even,
Right.
it came twice, so to
Mhm.
give you an idea of...
And
the level
I
it's
will
at.
say, too, that the director, I think her name is Alma Harrell,
Yeah.
I think is how you say it.
Yeah, he found her by watching some other film in like
A documentary. So this
like
is
a-
her first narrative feature.
and she was... I mean, seriously, a
The
lot of the
direction
color...
in this movie was
Mhm.
so good.
Yeah.
Just like the
Mhm.
certain scenes of like the way it blended with music, what
Mhm.
words were muted, what weren't. I get that that's an editing end, but it's also very much a direction end. And then
And then there were just these scenes which either were dreams or felt very dreamlike. Like there were definitely some scenes that
I
were
was
certainly
so on the
dreams.
dream stuff.
I really liked them. Like just that like hazy sort of like, and then the music in those scenes. It just like I don't know. It just like hit me different, dude.
What
Yeah.
really was a great sign of direction was the scene where the the take a dad home guy, the guy who was volunteering
Oh, the
Yeah.
like
for Otis.
Just
Big
like the
Brothers.
The
Yeah.
scene where they're by the pool, he's
Take
going,
a dad home.
yeah,
Take
whatever.
a dad home.
Cop, whatever. Okay, I'll start
Rent a
that.
dad.
I'll start that foundation
Rent a
right now.
dad.
Rent a father. But he goes to the pool and just seeing where he's like grilling burgers, he's talking to him, and you can sense from knowing a little bit about this character that he's not being genuine when he's like
Right.
showing interest, like how's
Yeah.
your sister, blah blah this. But I don't know if the gentleman at the table knew until that quick turn.
Yeah.
And the way it was directed and the rise of emotions and the throwing the guy in the pool, that was great
Yeah.
direction.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
As well as some great performing too.
Oh
Yeah.
So that was the scene where I was like, this is a real fucking director, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, just there are just so many shots in that movie and so many moments in that movie that just like impacted me. I cried several times during this
Me
movie.
too.
And earlier we were talking about, why don't you like the child actor from Marriage Story? Because this child actor was fucking incredible.
He was.
I mean,
And
yeah,
the
he
bar
was
set
older
high.
though.
I think.
Good.
He was a little older, sure, but he's still a kid. Like,
was
Yeah,
so
he
good.
did so good,
He
and like
did so
there's
good.
some really really heavy scenes, and you see him show a lot of emotion that feels genuine.
Oh yeah.
And I imagine that it's pretty hard for a child actor to do because you have these scenes where Otis, the character, is acting, but he's also showing emotion that comes from his real life. Like
Yes.
there's a scene which basically mimics a Disney Channel
yeah,
movie.
it was like I don't remember the one where he stole his little dog or something.
Yeah, but regardless of what it is, where he's having this interaction with his on-screen dad, and it's the interaction he wishes he could have with his real
dad.
father.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, like, that kid is acting on several layers.
And let's
in
not
that
forget
scene.
about the meta of he is a child performer.
Yeah.
Playing a child performer being abused.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
probably knows, if not, I mean, I don't think he's that way, but he's probably seen in the industry kids
Yeah,
that are
because
treated like this.
and it's just so interesting because we have this. Because, like, every child actor almost has gone through some sort of scandal or has had a phase.
Yeah.
Like, like their Miley Cyrus phase where they, like,
Mhm.
act out or whatever.
Well, I always wonder if that's more about, like, is it from trauma always, or maybe there's sometimes where a manager's like, hey, you have to define yourself as an adult. Go do these fucking
Yeah,
crazy
and I
adult
think
things.
sometimes it's both.
Yeah.
Like, but we see so many child stars who are, like,
Macaulay Culkin's like the
Yeah,
one, you know?
or like what's her name,
And
Amanda
Joel Osment.
Bynes, or like
Amanda Bynes. That's a sad one right there.
yeah. And like, and you just see it happen where it's like, it's an industry that hurts kids, and you wonder why their parents are in it.
But again, you never usually get to see the background of that.
Right.
You never
and
that's the inner workings.
That's honestly what is so great about this.
Yeah.
It's wonderful that like Shia is able to use this not only to be cathartic and help him work through his trauma, but also to be more, to help us as audiences be more critical of the child star industry.
Yeah.
And especially
if you guys want to be critical of the industry, let me just say this real fast because I will forget because we get carried on. There's a great documentary called An Open Secret.
Yeah.
It's also kind of a secret, so yeah, if you guys can find it, it's great. It's all about like, what the industry actually is. A lot of the sexual molestation stuff. It's really eye-opening. That's something that if you guys don't know about, you should watch. I'm just throwing that out there. I thought about it during the movie, and I was like, wow, this is kind of an example. Not that he's ever sexually molested in the film, but he is, but not by the industry. But it just shows like the vulnerability
how exploitative it is.
The vulnerability of a child who's trying to please with his actions. He's an actor.
Yeah.
He's trying to please everybody with his performance, and sometimes that, unfortunately, people take advantage of that mentality. So that's just one thing I wanted to mention.
Yeah. I don't remember what I was going to say now.
I kind of want to go briefly back to like Shia playing his father. Before I watched it, I was like, oh wow, what like a great way to like help take back your power and from like your abuser and like kind of find closure. But then after I watched it, I don't really feel that way anymore. I feel more like it might embody the fear of becoming your abuser. Which is like so scary.
Definitely.
So scary. Like, I don't know. It's just the way, like that, him playing his father.
It's like he's like reclaiming it. Like, like not like...
Are you worried about like the destructiveness of like giving in to it? Or is that what you're saying? Like,
I mean, I don't know.
Or like you're saying it represents that. Like,
I wonder if it represents that.
I can see that perspective. I think the thing that Shia though did really well in writing the script, and then the character Otis did really well, is at the end of the film, the only version that we like of his father is in his mind.
Yeah.
It never at any point says, here's the full human nature of this person, and here's this person redeemed. The character of his father isn't really ever redeemed.
No.
Right. I mean...
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and that's where I kind of go with him taking it back. If he had ended the movie with, oh, my dad actually loved me the whole time, which, maybe that's true, maybe that's not. I don't want to get into that argument. But that was not the message of the film.
Right.
And I think if it was, then maybe what you're saying would make sense to me.
Yeah.
But I think the difference in the fact that he's like, I'm going to play my father, and you're going to fucking hate him. And there's not going to be one moment where you're like, I like his dad. I can't think of a single fucking moment in the film where I like his father.
And, like, even the moments that are...
human.
Or, well, not even that, but, like, even the moments in the movie where you see, like, those are clearly happy-ish memories are still tinted by the fact that his father is terrible.
Yeah, like
there's
the weed moment.
Yes, so, like, throughout the movie you see... It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny in that, like, it's ridiculous. But, like, his father is... growing marijuana on the side of the highway. Like, that's objectively, that's funny.
Yeah.
But, they go and they harvest it and they smoke it together. I mean, he almost, like, forces
his
Otis
fucking, like, 12-year-old
to take a hit of this joint. And, like, even though that was a moment where they felt connected and close together, it's still tainted.
And he's, like, getting that, like, physical, like, love from his father that, like, he doesn't normally get.
That physical contact.
And like, he's, like, sitting in his father's arms, which doesn't normally happen.
Right.
So he's just going along with emotions.
And, like, there's something to be said about, like, rewarding with, like, physical, like, even if it's not in a sexual way, like, touch is just, for a lot of people, it's, like, really important.
Yeah, there's endorphins.
Yeah,
And-
and you can tell it's, like, something that Otis wants.
Yeah.
Because, like, the one time they held hands, so then he took his hand away.
I'm just very excited to say my next thing, because this is something I thought about in the movie and have not said out loud once yet. The relationship his father has with him is almost surrogated a version of the relationship that his rodeo clownness had with that chicken.
Yeah.
And it's
Holy
so
shit, yeah.
obvious.
Yes.
Even the fact that he's being led by the chicken in all these dreams
Yep.
and all these
Yeah.
situations where his father's like, this was my moment. That chicken was blah, blah, and literally almost making comparisons like, you're my new rodeo pet.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's something I didn't think about till after the film when I was like, why was the chicken so representative? Like, we already knew the father was a fucking loser, essentially. I mean, not to be too harsh, but fuck him. He was kind of a loser. And seeing
Yeah.
that he was a rodeo clown, like, obviously is an insurance point of that. And I was like, why was there so much emphasis on the chicken? It's because Shia, as a man, Otis as a character, whatever it
Yeah.
is very much like the replacement. Like, he's using this creature that has a strong relationship with him to make money.
Yeah, and like in when you hear him talk about the rodeo clown business, like he just sets it up for the chicken to do the work, and like
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah, and like he is that chicken, and that chicken is in the like poster for the film.
Yeah, it never. I mean, call me like dumb, call me a layman with film, but it did not connect for me until after the movie, and then I forgot to bring it up till now.
Yeah, no, I mean that's
Yeah.
something that like I was kind of on the edges, but like not a thought that I ever articulated.
Yeah,
but
I never
yeah,
even thought about that. That's so...
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but I think it's true, and like
Yeah,
that
that's a
chicken
good
is
point.
symbolic
Definitely.
throughout it, and then like you see him following this chicken wherever it leads him in the dream sequences and stuff. And like another thing with the touch thing too, which is interesting, is like those scenes where he's interacting with I don't know if that character had a name.
I think she did.
I don't
She
remember
definitely
it.
has a real name because it happened.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
but like I think she, like
I was wondering if we were going to touch on that. I was hoping we were.
Let me get back to you on that in a moment.
But yeah, it's FKA Twigs. Is that the name of the actress?
Yes, I think so.
When he interacts with her characters, Franny's falling asleep right now.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Yes,
I
you
see
are.
over there.
Oops.
It's very
I'm
late
not
at night.
uninterested.
It's very late at night.
Yeah.
She's literally entitled Shy Girl.
Shy girl. All right.
Also, I knew that was Martin. Martin Starr was in the movie. He looked a little filled out. Good job, Martin. I'm just throwing that out
Who
there.
did he play?
Looks like he's doing leg day. He was like one of the counselor people at the end.
Oh, that like he
yeah.
told him to go
Yeah.
and scream.
He's the gangly nerd from Freaks and Geeks. He looks good. He looks filled out. He's
But-
hitting them dumbbells.
But like, yeah, his interactions with her, like, you don't. It's heavily implied that they have a sexual relationship, which is.
Well, I mean, they're literally kissing, cuddling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And
you
then-
never
Which is
see
not
anything-
okay because he's a child.
You never see anything explicit
Right.
happen, but you know that this
Yeah.
is what's going on, and like that's very like touch centric for him, and
Yes.
and it's very interesting because you see like those are the moments when he gets to be a kid, is when he's interacting with this older person who's taking advantage of him.
And I actually
And
have a
who's-
question too. Does she know? Like, is she just a child molester, or does she know that he? I mean, she still is a child molester in this situation.
Like, regardless.
But does she know about his like fleeting fame? Like, does she know that he was on the Disney Channel?
I don't know that
Was
she
she
knows
doing
that.
it for money? 'Cause
But,
she
like,
did get money.
He did give her money.
Yeah.
And so like that makes I mean she has to know that he has it if he's giving her money.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the
But-
question is, like, how much, like, on the later end of it, was about money, or was about genuine companionship?
I think she's also not 100% there.
Sure, but even the most
Like-
not 100% people there have motive. So there's
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
be a
True.
reason.
I wish he had touched more on it.
Why? I think
mean,
I like that he did.
in his
It's up to
jaded mind a little
interpretation.
bit, and the fact that it's his past, he might, inaccurately look at some of those things as not being as bad as they were.
Yeah.
I mean that's
Yeah, and,
Because
totally
it's almost reflected in the
relatable.
film. Yeah.
Yeah, those were like
Like-
the moments when he got to be a kid and he got to
and
experience joy.
that makes it so much
Worse, yeah.
worse because she is definitely taking advantage of him. She is
Absolutely.
definitely
Yeah,
she's definitely an adult
Yeah.
and he's definitely a child.
vulnerable.
I just like how well this movie portrayed abuse in general.
Mhm.
I agree.
Not just from him, but also from the dad. It portrayed like the emotional and the physical really well. And like, just, like, the phone call thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that was a really good.
Yeah. That was really good because, like, that's also, like, in Marriage Story was super realistic to how parents actually interact with their child, like, through a divorce and everything, and, like, through not being together. And I like how it kind of took away, like, from how he was idolizing his mom.
Mm.
And, like, she's, like, this, like, not present character. You don't even see his mom once. You only hear her voice through that phone call. And it shows that, like, she's not a good character. Like, she's not a good influence in his life because she's not even there, first off. Second of all, she's participating in this horrible act of, like, throwing their child in the middle of their fight.
Not only that, not
Like-
throwing the child in the middle of their fight, but throwing their child to the wolves of the industry without being involved.
Yeah.
And she knows the kind of person his father is.
Oh,
Exactly.
has to,
She
yeah.
talks about how his dad,
Like,
molested her,
and,
raped
tried
her
to
or
rape her
something,
in a car, and
Yeah.
she had to, like, get out, like...
Which she says in front of their kid.
Like, she tells him that. And,
And, like, you see that Otis knows about his record of
Yeah.
sexual
Yeah,
assault.
Otis talks
Yeah,
about
because
Because he
talks
says, like,
pure
who's going to
sexual
hire
assault,
a
yeah.
felon?
that's that was
Yeah.
heavy shit.
And, like,
And-
to, like, know that you either are conceived or could be conceived.
I don't think it implies that he did that to his mother.
What
Oh,
the
I
sexual-
do.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
it
that was
was.
a different.
He
I think
says
that was
that.
a different person.
In
No,
the phone
it was
call,
the
he
same.
says
In the phone
that,
call,
yeah.
In the phone call, she, like, it's mentioned.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So it was his mom.
I mean, not to say that's the only person. I mean, clearly he had that weird moment where he was looking at Shy Girl and he was, like, doing his fucking bullshit on the bike. But
yeah, but I
Yeah.
think that he, like, there was a scene where, like, some girl jumped out of a car. I don't think that was his
That
mother.
was his mom, because
That
they
was
talked
mom.
about it on the phone. She
yeah.
was talking about it on the phone when she was talking to Otis and
Oh.
having
And, like-
Otis, like, repeat. She was
Okay.
like, well, you made me jump out of a car, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
And then
Maybe I
later he
misheard.
talks about it in the AA meeting and was like, I almost raped the girl and, like, she had to jump up. But, like, I can't even imagine the idea of, like, being, like, what that would do to you, knowing that you were potentially a child that was conceived out of abuse.
Yeah, and like
in one way or another.
The thing that I found really interesting about that phone call too is like he's not just relaying the message;
He's, like,
imitating
acting.
his
Yeah.
father.
Yeah.
and like he even
He's
when
imitating his mother as well.
Yeah, and he's like always performing, and he has to perform for his parents,
Yep.
and he has to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he doesn't know how to not perform.
You know, and what's crazy is that level of abuse, it almost makes you, like, not overlook, but just kind of, like, the physical abuse in the film is, like, almost an underlying thing. Like, it's a half
The mental.
measure.
Yeah,
You know, because
Yeah.
there's moments where he's literally whooping his kid's ass, like,
Yeah.
punching him. And that's, I mean, that was sad, but it didn't resonate with me as much as the emotional. I think that was a part
Yeah.
of the director.
Yeah.
Really
yeah,
made
it
me
hits you
empathize
harder
with
when
the
he
character.
when he basically tells him like you're a clown, you're nothing.
Because
than it
people
does when-
underplay emotional abuse.
Yeah,
People
Oh, yeah.
really do. People don't
And,
take
like-
it seriously, especially when it comes to children.
And that's why this film really is very successful in that.
Yeah.
It makes you really empathize with characters,
Oh,
especially.
definitely.
It's significantly Otis, like, specifically.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we were talking about what we love about it. I'm gonna mention some things I don't like about it, but
Okay.
not to yuck on anybody's yum.
Yeah.
I think the movie
That's the
is.
second time you've used that phrase.
I love that phrase. It's one of my favorites. But I think objectively, I don't think the film's ending is incredibly strong because it's very sudden.
Yeah.
And
I was
ironically
like,
enough,
that's over?
we're talking about how long Marriage Story was. I think Honey Boy should have been longer.
I
I
wish
agree.
it was.
I felt that way as well.
Especially since you have a wealth of the abuse that went on, or the effects of the abuse that went on through his adulthood. I mean, he very clearly was dealing with things while coming up and being the Transformers guy and all that.
Mhm.
I would have loved to see the kind of people he surrounded himself with that bred into, like, his success as well as the people that didn't help him when he needed them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the movie ended in a good place because I think that ultimately he set out to make a movie about his father, and he says that in the movie, and it's actually like the very last line of the movie, and it's my favorite line of the movie.
Me too.
Is he says, "I'm gonna make a movie about you, Dad." He says this to his father like in a dream
Yeah.
sequence, And his father's, like, in his full, like, rodeo clown makeup. It's really great.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm going to make a movie about you, Dad. And he says, make me look good, honey boy. And, like, that's, like, the last line of the movie. And I think that's a perfect last line.
Yeah.
But
and then you have the credits for a little bit. I don't know if you caught this because you left the theater before us.
Mm-hmm.
But after the credits roll a little bit, there's a scene of him, like, as a child
on
the bike.
No, I saw that.
Okay.
I was standing in the hallway.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
you
standing in, like, the hall, like, area coming down. I always do that. I always am like, I'm about to leave, and then I hear something, I'm like, I just stand there and watch.
Yeah.
But, no, I agree that there was, like, that was a good ending, but I think that there is middle ground there, and I feel like a lot of the results of his abuse is an important part of the story, too. I think if we had seen how he handled that as an adult before rehab, that could have been incredibly effective.
I mean, like...
And it could help you empathize with people that you don't understand a little better, too. Like, you don't know what's going on in somebody's life.
Yeah.
I think that seeing him in the moments where we hated him, like, you know, with, like, the whole, like, bag on his face thing, or the pulling his tooth out before the Fury film, all the crazy shit he did, when we have that knowledge now, we empathize better. And maybe it would help us empathize better with performers or people who are drawn in a terrible light.
Yeah.
He missed that opportunity blatantly in this film.
And he talks about, like, how, like, when he drinks and, like, when he started, like, using and all that, he became his father, like, and he, like, it says it as if, like, his father possesses him. So it makes you think that, like, that crazy stuff that he's done in, like, the eyes of the media.
I mean,
because in his head, he thinks he was his father at that point.
I mean, I don't think he literally thinks that.
I know,
but, you know,
but yeah, it's like, that's not
like,
who I am.
He, like,
the other thing,
more
too,
relates
is...
that to his father than to himself.
We didn't see him and how he reacted to becoming one of the biggest stars in the world.
Yeah.
There was a point where you couldn't fucking see a movie without Shia LaBeouf in it. Like, he was the guy. And I wanted to see him react to that because he was so desperate for admiration and being noticed. How did he take it when he actually got it? We don't really get to know. We can speculate on what we've seen in the film and how he's in rehab. But I think that another, like, 20, 30 minutes with that would have solidified this movie for, like, a top 5 for me for the year. But as a result, we got a smaller movie, and granted, it's a good amount of, like, it's a good thing that it was small, but to only have the set, the hotel or the motel, the set, the motel, the rehab center, like, the same 3 locations made it feel really small, which, you know, I get that's what they were going for, but I think the gravity of who Shia LaBeouf was as a person could have brought more, like, epicness to the film, and that would have also been more effective in us understanding who he is.
I think I'm going to disagree with that. Though the ending felt abrupt, I actually don't think that it was
because remember, the ending doesn't have to not. I'm not saying the ending's bad because of the actual ending. I think it could have come later in the movie because remember, this ending doesn't happen instantly after the events of the other part of.
But I think that, like, I think it's almost wise on his part to not include that because that's almost the Shia that we know.
I mean,
and I think that we already have.
But I think the film shows we don't really because we knew the even Steven Shia, and that's the one we saw.
Well, yeah, but I think my point is that, like, I think that keeping this movie small really, like, did something for it. I think that if it was too big, it would almost be like he's trying to rewrite recent history.
For me,
and it's like he's trying to retcon his own past, whereas, like, by taking it farther to the past, by taking it to make it about solely this one experience.
For me, I wish it would have been...
I think that does it for me.
I wish it would have been a full story. Like, if you read the Bible, you get 13 to 30. And I feel like there's a lot of juicy bits in between if you're someone... just as an example of a story, like, that is such a huge jump. And this film kind of did the same thing where you saw him in his beginning, you know, in his genesis. You saw him turning in to the man he was going to be. And then you instantly saw the man who is seeking change and seeking, like, some sort of, you know, healing. We didn't see the man in his full constructive, like, absolute batshit horrible situation for more than just a 1 to 2 minute montage.
I mean, I almost feel like we didn't need to see that, and I almost feel like it's like
that falls totally into a matter of
I think
that's
so
just
too.
But
I think for him, it's like, you know, you don't get to come and see this movie because you want to know about how crazy I am. This is a movie that he made for himself, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think that he thought that people were going to see this movie.
That's definitely true,
I think that he made this movie because it was what he needed to do, and I don't think he wanted people to come and see this movie because it's like, oh, let's all go see how crazy Shia LaBeouf really is. And so for that reason, I really liked it being focused on his childhood because that was the pain that he needed to work through. He knows why he is the way that he is today.
I still feel like, even with that in mind, there are things missing. There, not from the narrative itself, but from the writing perspective of. I know we were just talking about reincorporation. There's some of that in there, but just elements of like an actual plot line.
Yeah.
This was very fast. There wasn't a lot of, I'm not saying it should have been a standard 3-act structure, but we just saw him as a child and the abuse, and then him as the adult and the pain. I feel like it just made him almost not a full character. You can relate to the pain and the empathy, but you were missing out on so much more because a child can't articulate everything and feel everything like an adult can.
True.
And also, you don't see him facing realness or any sort of reality. And maybe that's, a talk on like performers, but he went from being a child, being abused, to being an adult, hardened, and just finding his way. But there was never any point of like, I'm on my own now. And I think that that's a big part of his life as well as anybody's life.
Mm-hmm. I think he was. I think in a way he was always on his own.
Maybe emotionally, but I'm talking in the terms of like acceptance of like this. My life is just mine because in the film, he cares for his father. He's like his father's almost like his caretaker. I wanted to see the damaged Shia dealing with having to be responsible for his own actions and being an actual person. In other words, seeing what the abuse caused.
I think the question is, has he himself unpacked that yet? And also,
that's
like, is that
the
story that, and like, I don't think that's the story he wants to tell.
Sure. No, I understand.
And I also don't think that he wanted to make a movie about himself. I think he wanted to make a movie about his father.
Well, I think,
and that's what he tells us. He says, "Dad, I'm going to make a movie about you."
Sure, but I think it's fair to say that the movie about his father is also about himself, just in the relation of the two characters.
Yeah, but I think that, like, adding in all that stuff, like, there isn't anything that I would add to this movie.
Nothing.
Like as far as plot-wise goes, no.
So, kind of going off what you were saying, Logan, sort of from a trauma standpoint, like, sometimes, for me, it can easily feel like it's just now and the time that the abuse took place.
You mean like a time skip? Like you just kind of... A lot of people talk about with abuse, like they just kind of go back to that moment like instantly.
Oh yeah, I mean that definitely happens.
And that may be the point. I see what you guys are saying. I think this is just a matter of opinion.
Yeah, I mean
I
definitely.
Agree. Yeah.
But I kind of feel like, at least with Shia's, that like, or not Shia's, but like with this film, that like.
I mean, it is Shia. He wrote the film.
Yeah,
he didn't direct it, but it's very much his film.
Oh, definitely. I feel like it was definitely like, we have now, and then we have when the abuse started, and the abuse was happening, and there's nothing else. And definitely for my life, I feel that way, and a lot of times, like, I can, like, there's now, and then there's what happened, and nothing else is as influential in my life as what happened, and there's nothing I think about more than what happened and now. And, like, those are the two big points.
I think the film, there's two ways to look at it, right? If we're talking about a therapeutic and message-filled film, this film is one of the better ones you can see.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as a narrative that is entertaining, it's not very much so. But that's okay, because that's not what it's trying to be. But for me, it was so much in the other direction that it doesn't come off as mediocre. It's still great. It's just not as amazing as it could be, in my opinion.
I don't know that I was necessarily. I wouldn't say that I wasn't entertained, but maybe.
No, I'm not saying I'm not entertained.
Entertaining is maybe the wrong word as far as insofar as I was captivated by this movie, and I felt very invested in this, and I was like very emotional throughout this movie, and
it's almost like for me, it's almost like because there's heavy emotional films that I have like better regard for. I think what it is by that huge time lapse, though it's purposefully what he's trying to do, it feels like there's information being hidden from me as a film goer.
Yeah.
And granted, it is, because it's none of my fucking business. I mean, he wants to make the movie he wants to make. He's not going to give us all the details for whatever reasons he may have.
Yeah.
But as far as, like, finding the film, especially with how engrossed you are in the film, it just felt like, okay, we had a great first hour, and then the last 30 minutes were good, but I just knew that it was ending, and I didn't have everything I wanted. Doesn't make it a bad film. I think it's a great film. For me, Marriage Story was better.
I strongly disagree.
Yeah, exactly.
And stylistically, this movie was so good, and I think it's also a matter of do you value a movie that is trying to be highly entertaining,
mm-hmm.
and that is trying to, tell you a neat story, or do you value a movie that is trying to be the absolute best stylistically of what it is?
I will say this.
And I think that that's like a fundamental what do you enjoy question. And it's like, do you value style in the way that things are done and how things are told over what is actually being told?
So that's definitely part of it. I think the other thing is I saw another film with Lucas Hedges, which is Waves. I'm not going to get too into it. But it shares a lot of similarities in the way it was shot and the kind of story it was being told. And for me, I left that movie and it felt complete.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I left Honey Boy, it just wasn't complete. Amongst everything else, no matter how much I loved it or disliked it, I just felt like there was something on the cutting room floor. That's me, though. So for me, you guys want to get into ratings?
Well, I will say this in response to that just a little bit. Like, the story isn't complete, especially when it's someone's real life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not complete, and it's not, and his path is not ending
mm-hmm.
when this movie ends. And so, like, for that reason, like,
I guess I'm talking about the story. Okay, then let me change my words. I don't think the film was a complete film as a whole of what a film should be. And what I want out of it, not what everybody else thinks of it. I'm talking specifically from my point of view.
Yeah.
What I think a complete film should be. This movie had elements of that missing. Now, still, we're talking about it like I hate it. I don't fucking think you hate loved it. I love this movie. I just wish there was more of it.
And that's valid.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that that's completely valid.
Yeah, because I don't have any defense on my side. Franny is falling asleep the whole time.
She is.
She is.
Okay, since Franny is falling asleep, I agree. Let's do ratings and then call it a night.
Yeah. So what's funny is I rated Marriage Story an 8 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
For me, Honey Boy is like a strong 7 out of 10. Like, I'll even go with the decimal, even though I hate that. Like, it's 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
The thing for me that doesn't meet is that lack of, for me. So where do you have it, Franny?
I have it probably like a 7 out of 10. Not the 0.5, just a 7.
It was so funny because like before we saw Marriage Story, that was your favorite movie of the year. So she's much more critical than me, I guess.
It's definitely gone down. I really like it. I do like the fact that it was so like hit home with like the abuse stuff and like actually did it well and did it right. I mean, not did it. You gave me a face when I said
no. I made a very loud drinking noise. I was like,
oh. I thought you meant like. Yeah, because nothing about that's good, but it was shot well and it was played out.
Portrayed well.
Yeah, it was portrayed out well and not offensive. I really liked the character of Otis, and like I do like the symmetry of him playing his dad. So yeah, about a 7.
If I was doing like the Academy
maybe.
Awards, I would say that Shia LaBeouf is the best supporting actor of this year.
Oh
Yeah.
Hands down, no questions.
Yeah.
Correct.
Fucking
Yeah.
Tom Hanks with his bullshit. I'm
Yeah, I
done with
know.
it.
And
Brad
the
Pitt,
thing that
you're a
makes
main
me,
character.
like, the thing about this movie too is that, like, if this came out like
Like
last year,
it would have
this would
won
be the
Best
best
Picture.
movie of the year.
Yeah.
But
The
like,
films are too good this year.
the movies
Yeah.
are just too good.
Yeah, this would have wiped Green Book off the fucking map. And I like Green Book. I'm not saying I hate it.
all the Oscar noms.
The movies, they're just too good.
Yeah, they really are.
Bridget.
So mine is probably either a 9.5 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10.
Oh yeah.
I really, really related to Otis. And I thought that his depiction of abuse and grooming and of PTSD was very spot on and very perfect. I loved the aesthetic of it.
Mm-hmm.
The actors were all phenomenal.
Very dreamy, this movie.
Yes, I love it. And I just really had, I wouldn't say a good time, but
Captivated time.
But you
I
had
think is
time.
that-
a
yeah.
meaningful time.
You all had
Like-
big emotions afterwards.
Oh yeah, I
I was
cried.
the most calm person.
Like
after
I
that
couldn't,
film.
I just didn't even have any
just
words.
shaken up.
Yeah.
I would give this movie an A.
Wow, an A. That's
Yes.
strong.
Dang.
I love this movie. I mean, like, I just felt so many emotions when I was watching this, and then just stylistically, and it creates this mood and it creates this atmosphere, this sort of like dreaminess at times, and then at other times it's like harshly real. And I really like that for it, and I really think that, like, in terms in a sense, like, this was the movie that Shia LaBeouf wanted to make, and this is the movie that he needed to make, and like, just to see that was really good. And I think that if I have to contrast it to Marriage Story, I think that Shia LaBeouf in this movie was able to play and portray himself unflinchingly.
Yeah, I would say this.
And say that this is who I am, this is what happened. Whereas, Charlie in Marriage Story, who's like who really is like the director, writer's, self-insert character.
Yeah.
That's him as he went through his divorce.
Yeah,
and
I don't think
into
there's any
subsequent-
debate in regards to Shia's performance. It's
Yeah.
the best out of the two films. It's like it soars over, and that's
Yeah.
why I know that Shia's probably not going to get nominated.
But he should.
But not only should he get nominated, but he should win.
Yes. But yeah, so I think
Definitely.
that, like, in comparison to how they told the stories of themselves, he told the story of himself in a better way. And he told this story of, what it means to be a person and to be a flawed person in a way that, like, resonated with me far more than Marriage Story did. Like, this, like, I don't know. Like, I just like felt like deeply connected to this movie in a lot of ways, and I think that's really what did it for me. Also, have to say that scene where he goes into the woods and screams is like one of my favorite scenes.
I
in
almost
the movie.
forgot to. Yeah, I was thinking about
I
this.
love to scream.
Yeah.
Like,
She does.
my most cathartic if I need to get some shit out of my chest and lungs. I definitely will just go in my car and start driving and then just scream really loud. And so, like, just seeing him do that was like, yes, like, you needed that, buddy. I feel you.
Dat me.
You gotta let it go.
Dat me. Yeah.
So yeah, is that it?
Yeah. So real quick, I want to mention at the end of this, you guys can catch all these like our letter reviews on Letterboxd.
Yes.
So that's saying this film as well as the films that are going to come up later in case you don't have time to like see it before you go see the movie. Also, just to like keep a conversation between everybody. We're also I don't know if we'll have the Patreon up, but if we do, it's going to be linked in the description. Definitely go there. If you guys enjoy what we do, we want to do it full time.
Yes.
And we'll be able to make more content if you guys donate to our Patreon. So thank you for listening.
Regardless, if you have thoughts, leave a comment, send us an email. I'll put the email address in there.
Yes. Absolutely. And the other thing too is I think the next video, I don't know if it'll come up before or after this, but we're going to be doing Jojo Rabbit and Lighthouse together, and everybody's got strong opinions.
Franny's asleep, but she
Franny's
fucking hated
asleep.
Lighthouse.
Yeah, she'll get it. Don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it yet
Save it for the
because
pod.
we're gonna save it for next
sorry.
time.
Thanks, guys. Bye.